Hey everyone, we're thrilled to announce that we at The Biographers officially have our first sponsor, McQueen Pipes. If you're like me, which is a nerd who appreciates high-quality handmade products that are also inspired by The Lord of the Rings, you gotta check out McQueen Pipes. You've got pipes with names like the Ranger, the Wizard, the Halfling, the Goblin, and the Barrel Rider. Whether you enjoy pipe tobacco, vaping, marijuana, or just appreciate the craftsmanship of a handmade, wood-stemmed pipe, McQueen Pipes has got you covered with all kinds of accessories to accommodate your smoking preferences. Check out McQueen Pipes today and use the code BIOGRAPHERS at checkout to receive 15% off of your order. That's Mac like mac and cheese and Queen like the Queen of England. McQueenPipes.com and use the code BIOGRAPHERS at checkout to receive 15% off of your entire order. Don't wait for the return of the king. Check out McQueen Pipes today.
I do hope you can see me today from where you are.
Ich bin ein Lehrling.
If I'm generally anything, I guess I'm generally miserable.
This modern world of science and invention is of particular interest to women.
The people, I would say, there is no patent. This is... Would you patent the sun?
I regard myself as a soldier, though a soldier of peace.
Welcome to The Biographers.
I was recording and Bill was like, I gotta turn this up. Like,
Oh, by the way, have you heard of Dan Carlin before?
no.
Have you not? Oh man, that actually is a little surprising to me. Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. Have you not heard of that?
No.
So Dan Carlin, you could make the argument that we are doing what we're doing right now because of Dan Carlin. Dan Carlin has had his podcast since 2005. Okay, he was like one of the first people ever to do a podcast, and prior to him, it was a lot of like college lectures and like secret releases from bands and an interview with a band talking to each other, like really simple things like that. And then Dan Carlin was like, he through collaboration with other people and talking to other people was like, oh, this can be a show. This can be just anything I want it to be. So Dan Carlin, he used to be like a news correspondent and an anchor and stuff like that, and a journalist and everything. And now he's just been doing these crazy hardcore history series. Like if you think what we do is long, one of his episodes, and he'll do like, he did this one called The Supernova in the East, and it's all about the history of Japan leading up to World War II. Like, how did that happen? Mm-hmm. It's like, I want to say it's like 7 episodes or 8 episodes long, and each one is 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah, I don't have the attention span for Dan Carlin.
Okay, you might, because he's one of these people that like when you hear him talk, you're just in. He just has this way of wrapping you up into what he's talking about. Anyways, the reason I'm bringing him up is because the last podcast guys just did an interview with him.
Oh, interesting.
And the main guy, Marcus, who does all the research for them, like Dan Carlin is his hero. Like for years, he's been his hero. So they got to talk to Dan Carlin and ask him all about his process and everything like that. And the reason I'm telling you this is because you and I have kind of talked about this as well, is that he's basically saying, I do tons of reading, and then I just talk to you about the things that I've read. Right?
Yeah.
And the guys go, okay, but how do you, like, we feel that same way. How do you justify it or whatever? Like, what's your thought behind this or whatever? And he goes, well, yeah, I mean, for everybody out there, you could just go find all the books that I've read and you can just go read them yourself. So what is the difference? He's like, well, I'd like to think that I'm bringing something artistic to the page to, like, illuminate this subject matter more than if you just read the book. And that's what his whole thing is what he's trying to do with his work. Well, so anyways, I thought that was kind of like, yay, if that's what we're able to do.
I mean, I think that's what we're trying to do. In fact, there's something that I will get to later that I stumbled across, which is definitely not in the book, but is absolutely true based on my research online. I mean, just a few minutes, but anyway. Oh,
no, same thing. It was, I don't mean to cut you
off.
Well,
no, just because, like, you know, we each have been having basically one main source and then supplementing with online sources and that that website that you found that's like all of those like scholarly things and like
the texts.
Yeah, texts and stuff like that. And I'm supplementing a lot on Victoria with like the Royal Collection Trust, Royal whatever, and like Royal Line of Succession.com, all these different things. And there is stuff that's not in this book because just like you and me, as we're going through and reading these things and being like, okay, well, yeah, that was sort of interesting, but like I don't know, like, yeah, we could just basically tell you the exact story of the entire book that we've read, or pull out the most exciting stuff, which is filtering, and then we add our commentary and thoughts. And I've got some thoughts actually coming up in this episode.
Cool. About
some stuff that happened. And that's the thing that is different than just like us sitting here and reading this book and basically doing an audiobook. So yeah, but
what was I going to say? Actually, now my thought.
I should not have, because I do that with Aaron all the time. He'll be starting to say something, and I'm like finishing my thought, and I'm like, then neither of us remember.
It's okay. Kat does it too.
I mean, it's that brain that we have now because of the internet.
I remember what I was going to say is I texted you this the other day. Is I'm now at the point where I'm reading through, and at the end, I think this is the way we'll do it moving forward. Is at the end of this series on Victoria, at the end of the episode, I will tell everybody who I will be doing the next series on, so you don't have to wait 2 weeks if you're like dying to know who the next person is going to be, and then we'll keep repeating it that way. So we'll let you know who I'm doing in a few weeks. But as I was doing my research, I'm still writing through my series and everything like that. I encountered this one person that I'd never heard the name before, so I Wikipedia them, and they have a page, but it's pretty incomplete, and a lot of like family tree stuff was incomplete. There was no information on like this person's date of birth, date of death, their marriages, any of their relatives. And I knew for a fact through the readings that I was like, dude, this person has a very famous sister and a very famous grandfather, and they were linked to all these royals and all this kind of stuff. And so I go to these people's Wikipedia page, and I'm like, oh yeah, none of them, the person that I was looking at, the sister or the grandfather, none of that is shown in their initial like bio that they're related to each other. So I spent like 4 hours
Daniel, the Wikipedia editor,
reorganizing these Wikipedia pages because I was frustrated that they didn't show the family lines.
Well, and for kids listening at home, that's why they say don't trust everything you read on the internet, because first of all, a website like that is edited by people. Obviously, Daniel's using information that is most likely to be true. He's done his research, but also it's incomplete.
It is. It's very incomplete. Wikipedia is insanely incomplete. I will say that they have done studies, and they have found that at this point, Wikipedia versus like just an Encyclopedia Britannica, they say that Wikipedia is statistically 99% as accurate as everything that's in the encyclopedia. And
cool.
It's one of the reasons
it's
that
obviously much more in depth. Like the encyclopedia doesn't have as much content,
and it's not active, it's not continuously evolving,
it's out of date the moment it's printed.
One thing that people don't understand about Wikipedia too is that you can make basic changes like date of birth, date of death, little things like that, and then another person can spot it and go, that's wrong, and change it. But if you just go into the text and say, I'm going to write just whatever, Wikipedia will delete it. Because you need to cite your material and say, hey, I heard this and I read this from over here.
Okay.
So for anybody out there...
People are editing, and that's why they ask you for donations, because they have people.
Exactly. So there are curators, there are people that are trying to make sure that it's not just the Wild West of information. So anyways, that's one of the reasons I always defend Wikipedia, is that it's people like to bash on it, but it's like, no, it actually has lots of really, really good information. So.
That actually makes me feel better, and I'm not going to cut corners necessarily, but I definitely end up referencing the Wikipedia page for things, especially with this. And then sometimes I'm like, well, that's something that wasn't in this biography, for example. And then I'm like, well, is that true? So then I go and Google it, and it sure enough is. So, I mean, yeah.
I'm sure this is true for you as you go through Victoria, but when I was going through Mabel, and even in my continued research now, the amount of people that they will just sort of say, oh yeah, and this person was there. And that is it. And you go, who is
and you're
this
like,
person?
But tell me more.
I'm not going to go and read a book on this person just so that I can put in a 2-sentence blurb about what they were. I'm going to go to Wikipedia. I'm going to go, oh, they were a dancer. Got it. That's all I really need to know. They were a dancer and they were responsible for this. The end. Move on. So I'm totally with you. I think Wikipedia is, not always, but very often, a nice little quick reference.
Yeah. And I guess to me, like, my perception years ago would be like, I don't know, don't trust everything you read on the internet. Don't trust everything that you read on that page. But then this is good. You know, this is more. I don't know. It's more trustworthy.
No, it is. And I obviously don't trust everything you read on the internet, but I feel like Wikipedia is one of those that's like, especially when it comes to history stuff, yeah, you can generally trust it. It's, not always, but most of the time.
Well, with all that being said, welcome to the Biographers.
Yay. Welcome, everybody.
Our ranting and rambling intro prior to saying welcome to the Biographers, as we always do.
Welcome, Biographiles. I don't know if that's going to stick.
I don't know. It sounds a little
icky. It sounds icky, but, it makes me laugh. So until somebody tells me, hey, this is a better name for the fans of the show.
Do they have biographilia?
See what I mean? Like but that's the weird thing is that if you said I'm an audiophile, people are like, yeah, man, he loves records. What can you say?
Then biographile. That's it.
That's what I'm saying. Is it doesn't have to be related
one of our
to pedophiles or something. It's like,
oh man,
I think that would be cool to have a shirt that says I'm a biographile.
I'm a biographile, and then we have our little like people.
Yeah, our little people down there, like the little guy and the girl.
Our little our history avatars.
Yeah. That is a good way.
Our histotars. No, I'm going to stop with that.
That doesn't sound good.
Stop with that. Oh man. Well, let's see. Where were we?
Yeah, where were we? I feel like she was coronated last time, and then
I feel like even more than that happened. Right?
I mean,
like,
a lot, but that was a big part of it.
Came and the Lady Flora Hastings stuff, and
was Lady Flora Hastings. Was that the last episode? That was episode 2, wasn't it?
No, that was episode 4.
4?
Mm-hmm.
No.
It happened after she was coronated.
We're recording episode 5 right now.
Yes. We're gonna have to edit this out.
No, we're not. Wait, no. Lady Flora Hastings, was that episode 3? I thought with the lady with the stomach.
Mm-hmm. That was episode 4.
I thought it was episode 3 because then we talked about how it was bad in episode 4 that it happened. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, you're right. I mean, sorry. We talked at the beginning of it. I'm going back to my notes. At the beginning of episode 4, we had talked about how she had just survived the Flora Hastings scandal.
There we go. I was like, because I could have sworn the scandal happened in episode 3.
I'm going to tell you guys, my brain is scrambled.
No,
is it long
hard.
COVID? Who knows what it is?
It gets hard in these when we do these series. I had the same issues with Mabel. When I got to like episode 3 and 4, I was like, when the hell did I talk about that one thing?
Yeah,
what episode was that?
Well,
like,
okay, so Albert, she basically like met Albert again. Okay. This is good that we're back here. So Albert and his brother come along. It was after she'd been ruling for a couple years.
Okay.
The Flora Hastings stuff had happened, the bedchamber crisis, all that stuff. Albert comes along and he's like, you got to marry me or I'm not going to wait around for you, right?
He made her wait a day or so at one point.
Yes, but he did make her wait a day or so. But the funny thing was, when she had first met cousin Albert and cousin Ernest, his brother, if you recall, this is episode 1 or 2. She had a thing for Ernest, remember? She thought Albert was like sickly and meh.
Yeah, he was a little off to the side and quiet kind of thing. Yeah,
he was just like kind of meh. Anyway, so that's something to remember when we come up on something later about Ernest.
Uh-oh, okay.
Anyway, but in this episode, we are going to be covering the 1840s and a little bit into the 1850s. We're going to cover a lot of births, a lot of losses.
Okay. So we got like a decade to cover here.
We got a lot in this one. So we're picking up in 1840, as I said. And when we left off, Victoria was pregnant with her second child. Albert was establishing himself as more than just like a husband. He was kind of stepping in a little bit as a bit of a monarch.
Ooh, okay.
He was handling finances, he was making improvements, and he was butting heads with Lazen.
Ah.
Which, you don't know if you want to butt heads with Lazen because that's Victoria's like number 1. Right? So it's December 3rd, 1840. And I'm going to tell you a little story about something that kind of was a catalyst for some of these changes that Albert put in place.
Day after my birthday.
Oh, yes. It's funny. We're going to be releasing an episode on your birthday, actually, I think. It's a Saturday this year.
Is it a Saturday this year?
Yeah, we'll see.
That's fun.
So it's December 3rd, 1840, and a young man named Edward Jones had figured out how to sneak into Buckingham Palace. Jones had been hiding for hours under a sofa in the Queen's sitting room. He'd been in the palace for a few days at this point. He'd been sneaking into the kitchen to steal food, and he was moving around from hiding place to hiding place, just waiting to catch a glimpse of the Queen.
My gosh.
He had just missed her, though. She'd been in that very sitting room just a few hours before. A nurse named Mrs. Lilly heard the door creak open, and she shouted, "Who's there?" And then the door slammed. She ran and got Lazen, and they went to inspect the room, where they found Jones hiding. He was rank from days in the palace. He stank.
Did they specify where he was hiding by any chance when
just
they went in that room?
Wherever he could find,
like
all
under
over
the
place.
table or something.
Yeah, he was like moving around. He was just sneaking around the palace. And meanwhile,
I'm imagining a guy, by the way, in the corner with a lampshade over his head.
Basically that. But in this case, when they actually found him, he was under the couch. But he'd been all over the place. So Victoria and Albert are just like sleeping a few rooms away, like they are blissfully ignorant of this situation. So, he gets arrested. And when he was asked how he got in, he told the authorities that he'd scaled the garden wall, climbed in a window, and crept around the palace.
Like you do.
Yeah, like you do. He boasted that he had even sat on the throne.
I would.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't? This wasn't his first rodeo, as they say. He had broken into the palace once before.
Oh my gosh.
And that time, he'd stolen a photo, a letter, and some of the queen's undergarments.
Okay.
I think when they caught him, they said he had like extra layers of clothes on. He was like wearing clothes that he'd stolen.
I'm Chandler. Could I
could
be wearing any more clothes?
Basically. They'd let him go because that time they just described it all as youthful folly. That's the quote that they gave it. So they're like, oh, he's just being a kid. And so then, he went back in. Now, this time his father told the police that he was actually mentally disturbed. So basically, they sentenced him to 3 months of hard labor as a punishment because he was mentally disturbed.
Okay.
That didn't seem to be enough to deter him. As soon as he was done with his sentence of hard labor, Lazen found him again in the middle of the night in the palace with stolen meat and potatoes in his handkerchief. And there was something in the book, too, that he mentioned, like, oh, maybe I can get good food from the kitchen. Like, he liked the food. The boy Jones, as he became called, was a bit of a celebrity for all of this, as you can imagine. People speculated that he was a genius. James Fenimore Cooper, the author of The Last of the Mohicans, met with Jones and his father so that he could ask to take Jones to America, where he thought this boy Jones would be able to thrive. He thought, this guy's so smart, he just needs to be somewhere more stimulating or something, right? No. The meeting proved that the boy Jones was actually not so smart and was instead described as dull and obstinate.
Oh, so he was just like, I need a place to crawl into and steal some food from, and that's
just a little obsessed with the queen. And
let's call him a simpleton.
He was a little bit of a simpleton.
Okay.
Even Charles Dickens wrote to Jones's father asking to meet the boy Jones just out of curiosity.
Dude, Dickens was everywhere, man.
Yeah, Dickens was everywhere. I'm going to mention him again later. So yeah, that was just an example of like some of the stuff that was happening.
Poor little
These
fella.
shenanigans kind of gave Albert a little bit of ammunition to whip the palace into shape.
Okay.
This included restructuring staff and operations and implementing a regime for Victoria. So Victoria was given a schedule by Albert. It was this: breakfast at 9, a walk afterward, right? Well, got to watch her weight because remember, she was a little chunky, right?
Okay.
Then Albert and Victoria would write and draw together. They would have lunch at 2. Then she would visit with Lord Melbourne after lunch for a few hours.
Okay.
She would go out for a carriage ride after that, and it was in what's called a pony phaeton, which is just a type of carriage, but I thought that was cool because the name was weird. We have on the website, you'll see the link, and you can click on the link of what that carriage looked like.
Okay, cool.
And then she would have dinner at 8 and then rinse, repeat. Now, this was intended to help her not stay up too late because she was prone to doing that.
Okay, now I'm just going to say this for anybody out there that's listening and going, whoa, it seems like this guy is really controlling. Let me just say, I have pretty severe ADHD. It's really hard for me to do many, many things in a day and shift that gear really rapidly. I just went on a trip to California and got back from it to visit some family. Before I left, we were like, my wife, Kat, and I, she was like, we need to clean a bunch of stuff. And I said, please write me a list physically on paper of the things you want me to get done. That's how I need to do this. She was like, no problem. And she wrote down, like I'm a 5-year-old, kitchen, upstairs bathroom, etc., right? I promise you, I got 90% more done just because I had this person going, this is just what I need from you. It wasn't like demanding. It wasn't anything. It was just like, dude, I have this thing to reference and go to. I'm not sure that's the case with these two, but to me, I just go like, hey, it's not necessarily an issue of control. It might be an issue of just saying, hey, like, just like with children, regiments are good, right? Well, schedules are good.
Honestly, with anybody, it's good, to be honest.
Yes.
And so this structure definitely helped. I do know that it was said she was prone to like staying up late and dancing and like doing all these things. So it was definitely good to give structure. I honestly right now I haven't been in the workforce for a couple months, and I'm trying to figure out my structure.
By choice, everyone.
By choice.
She's taking a break.
But I've been trying to figure out my own structure too, because it's like kind of hard when you just are kind of not having anything that's really tying you down to exactly what you have to do.
Totally agree.
But so she had this structure, and this is just one of the many changes that came at this time. So we'll get into some more things. Her finances needed a bit of a revamp. She was really, really charitable, which I think I mentioned before. She paid off like uncle's debts and stuff. Like she was definitely like on top of helping others with her good fortune, I guess you could say.
Cool.
She gave almost £3 million annually in today's dollars to charities and stuff. So she, and it actually was £2.6 million in the book. And I just rounded up a little bit because this book was written before this inflation that's happened in the last couple of years. So I'm guessing about £3 million annually. She had some income herself from investing in tin mines. Tin, yeah, TIN, the metal. And then Albert discovered that 2/3 of the income from those mines was eaten up by administration. So people who were managing the income were like taking the money.
Oh my gosh.
Like, so
this sounds like school districts, right? Like, honestly.
Yeah. So he fixed that. And actually, because of his restructuring of the administration of this income, he was able to save enough money to buy them a family home on the Isle of Wight. So, which becomes a big part of their lives. So
now you will probably know this better than me. Is it White or Right?
It's WIGHT.
Okay.
It's White.
I feel like there's some Beatles song where one of them says Isle of Wight, and it sounds like he says Isle of Right. And
well,
so
maybe it is spelled White, and if I didn't Google because I didn't think I needed to.
No, I do not know, and I'm genuinely asking because I've never really looked it up, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So on the Isle of Wight, White, right? Albert was addressing all of Victoria's homes because she had some that were like because she's a monarch, and then this one was something that they bought for themselves. Okay. So like when you're no longer, I don't know. So Buckingham Palace and the house, Windsor and all these things, Kensington Palace, those were like because you're a royal, it's the house.
And isn't there, and maybe this is prior or after Queen Victoria, but much like Camp David for the American president, isn't there like a very specific chunk of land that the royals own and it's called something?
I don't know specifically. I mean, I just know that all of these things are part of the royal family.
Okay,
but
maybe
like,
they're just fragmented. I don't know.
Yeah, but like, I guess I'm kind of speaking out of turn. But like in theory, let's say that Victoria died and she had no heirs, and so like an uncle further down the line or something ended up taking over. Like, I guess it wouldn't even, well, her mother wouldn't be able to continue to live in Buckingham Palace necessarily because it would pass to the monarch.
Gotcha.
And so this Osborne House, which is what that home on the Isle of Wight came to be called, was called, I don't know. It just went up for sale, and Albert's like, hey, I got some money that I saved through. Let's buy it. It truly
was his.
Yeah, they bought it.
Cool.
Well, I mean, it was Victoria's really because it was her money, but yes. So Albert's addressing all of the homes. Buckingham Palace in particular lacked ventilation, and it had bad heating. It experienced frequent gas leaks resulting in kitchen explosions. The kitchen itself, the floor of the kitchen was the roof of the sewers.
Oh my gosh.
So that was stinky. They also needed a larger nursery because they were having all these kids. The servants' quarters were too small. Here's one that's fun. The toilet above the Queen's dressing room, like the floor above, it would overflow and spill out the window down outside. So like it's funny because we think about Buckingham Palace as this like beautiful place, but it was like
I'm imagining shit waterfalls now coming out of the windows. That's disgusting.
There was some gross stuff happening. So he was like working on all of that stuff.
Oof.
And it had been Buckingham Palace had been inspected in 1838 by the Department of Woods and Works, which I didn't research into, but I just like that it's called Woods and Works. But it was a department.
That is fun.
After that, the lower floors of Buckingham Palace were just deemed uninhabitable. Like,
yeah,
it was not good. And it had been a few years since that inspection. So Albert and Stockmar, who we've heard, he's an advisor and he's around, they did another review and it revealed not only a lot of the stuff I just listed, but also operational inefficiencies. Oof. So the lamps were provided by one office. They were cleaned by a second office. And they were lit by a third office.
Oh my gosh.
Windows were cleaned inside at a different time from when the outsides of the windows would be cleaned because two different offices did those cleanings.
Oh my gosh.
So like they'd clean the inside, but the outside was dirty, so it just still looked dirty. So that was stupid. The process to fix things, it was a little tedious. If something broke in the kitchen, for example, the cook would submit a request which would be signed by the master of the household. It would then be authorized by Lord Chamberlain. It would be given to the Clerk of Works, who is part of the Office of Woods and Forests. And I just respect Albert here because he just said none of this is making any sense. And he appointed one guy to handle it all.
Dude, this is bureaucracy at its finest.
Oh, yeah.
Holy moly.
And I mean, you know me, you worked with me at a software company and I would be so frustrated when something very simple wasn't that easy. Yep. I didn't handle it well. And that was how we had such an amazing process at toward the end. But like, I mean, if I were Albert, I would have been like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, this is crazy.
There were also issues with the servants. They were described as sometimes just simply rude. They would disappear for hours on end. I read something that was like 90% of the time they were completely unsupervised. So there's just all these people on the payroll that are just like
walking around,
doing whatever. They committed scams like allowing people that weren't part of the household to forge the signatures of the Queen's ladies in waiting while ordering carriages, and then they would charge it to the household. So they just like basically, it's like using someone else's Uber app.
I was going to say, it's like the company Uber, and you're just like, I'm going to use it whenever I want.
Or I have my buddy is going to take a carriage because I forged this lady's signature, you know?
Oh my gosh.
The candles. Now, this is my favorite. The candles.
Okay.
Fresh candles would be put out into the lamps every day.
Okay.
Even if they were only partially burned or had not been burned at all.
What?
The footmen would take them and then sell them. So they were just stealing candles and selling them.
Oh my gosh.
And the staff would also make like lavish dinners for people who didn't work there. And like the Queen was basically paying for it.
Oh my gosh.
So Albert put an end to all of that. He cut some salaries because a lot of people weren't working the whole year, but they were annually based salaries. And so to me, that seemed a little bit harsh because I actually had a similar thing happen to me. This is a total aside. I worked at a swimming lessons place. I won't say what organization. And
put them on blast.
No, this was more than 20 years ago. And we taught 30-minute swimming lessons, but they would start on the top of the hour. So I'd teach my 30-minute lesson and then I'd have 30 minutes in between. I was paid $8.25 per hour.
That's a lot, just loaded.
Yeah, when I was 16, 17, 18. So I would get paid by the hour, right? That 30-minute with 30 minutes in between was the $8.25, right?
Okay.
Because I had to be there, right? So they got a new boss and he came in and he said, you're only working for 30 minutes. So you're going to get paid half. So if I was there for, let's do some math for simplicity, 5 hours, I was only working for 2.5 of those hours. So instead of getting paid my whopping $44.50 or 25 or whatever it was, $43, I was getting cut down to 20 something bucks.
Jeez, dude.
So I was a little bit like, okay, Albert, like, if I'm working in Buckingham Palace when the Queen's there for half the year, how am I going to find a job elsewhere for the other half of the year?
Yeah.
But still, I don't know. He definitely, it's like somebody coming in with an acquisition or something at a company and cleaning house.
It reminds me, though, of flight attendants. I've always thought it was really unfair that they don't get paid until the door is closed. So all the time that they're going like, welcome in, do this, do that, here's welcome to Delta or whatever, they are not getting paid. None of them. They're just there, and then the doors close.
Well, and I know
they start getting paid.
They can max out on time, too. So, like, if they're delayed, it's like a certain amount. Somebody who knows about this, but I think if it's a certain amount of hours that if they're like going, they're legally not allowed to be in the air after a certain amount of time. It's safety. It's for safety.
Gotcha.
But sometimes I think those delays eat into that total. So like I've heard people will be like, we were waiting on the ground, our flight was delayed, but then our crew timed out and they had to leave and they had to bring in a new crew. I've heard that story before.
Dude,
from friends who've traveled. It's weird. Anyway,
Southwest is the only one that I like anymore.
I don't know. I just wish that I could afford to fly first class in like one of those fancy ones where it's like the seat leans back and like the TV and you're like, I've never, even when we flew first class on our honeymoon, it was just basically bigger seats in the front of the plane. And yeah, we got the nicer meals and everything, but like
I've always wanted to go on, I think that's what you're talking about, the ones that are like that have like the upper deck, right? And then you like get to lay down in your own little pod and you have your own TV. I'm like, give me one of those. I want to take a nap on the plane and lay down.
I don't even know how much that could possibly cost.
Oh, it's got to be
$5,000.
Oh God, it's
$15,000. I don't even know.
It's got to be. The newest one I've seen that's been popping up on TikTok is that some of these planes have their own private suites.
Oh.
So it's like you have your own door to go into and you have like a couple couches that you sit on basically and your own little bathroom in there. And I'm like, dude, how much does that thing cost? That's got to be like $10,000 just to have that thing for one flight or whatever.
I bet Victoria would be able to afford it. Anyway.
Oh, dude, of course.
But I don't know. Albert was pretty frugal and stuff, and that's why he was able to buy that house. But
True.
Let's move on to the moral dignity of the court.
The moral dignity of the court?
Yes, I quote, the moral dignity of the court. So this is interesting because Victoria is kind of known for her religious faith, her conservatism, but Albert was really more of the driver for this stuff. Now, remember, his father had been like a womanizer. He was really like...
That's right. He wasn't even sure if his father was his father, right?
Yeah, and he was really like affected by a lack of morality. He was like, he thought it was not distasteful. It's like, he was like, it was an abomination. So he was like, we are going to get this court into shape. We're going to do things the straight and narrow way and all that. So according to Lord Melbourne, he actually said that Victoria did not much care for such niceties of moral choice. That's like a tongue twister. But Albert was extremely straight-laced. So she was pretty tolerant and progressive and like a little fun and like wanted to stay up until 2 a.m. And he was like, we got to keep things...
I'm starting to get the impression that we would not be viewing Victoria's legacy so kindly if it was not for Albert.
It's possible. I do think, I say this later, but she really did care about people. Like
yeah.
But we'll get into a little bit more. This part of the book is like called The Man Some Called King because he was like doing stuff.
Well, it just, to me, it feels like Victoria, without Albert, right? If she either never married or if the wrong person came into play who is more of a pushover or more of a whatever you want to call it, parasite of the system, political system, royal system,
like a
or
John like if she had her own John Conroy, who was like trying to manipulate her for their own gain.
That's what I mean. Is I think she could have been a lot more manipulated, despite all these people that had tried to give her advice and everything. I feel like Albert was there going like, yeah. Not only are you not going to get manipulated, but I'm actually going to turn this system into something good. Like not just this, we're the royals, but like no. Let's actually make this a system of government to where we're responsible. That's what it feels like to me.
Well, we're going to get a lot more into this actually. Yes. So let me keep moving on. We'll wrap up the moral dignity of the court with a list of changes that Albert made.
Awesome.
1, no more gambling at Windsor Castle.
Okay.
So I guess they used to gamble. They removed all the tables for that. The next was no one could sit in the Queen's or Albert's presence. But this had one caveat. The wife of Lord John Russell, who had just given birth, she was allowed a chair.
Oh, that makes sense.
It was very nice of them for that.
Yeah.
This one I like because you see it in TV shows. Everyone had to back out of the room, always facing the Queen, so as to not show their backsides. I think that Victoria just didn't care about a lot of this stuff so much. And so she kind of let it slide. She was like, whatever. But Albert's like, no, you're the queen. People are going to face you.
You know what this means? Albert was an ass man. And he didn't want to tempt himself while he was in the presence of his lady. He was like, I cannot see the booties.
I'm not so who knows?
I need them to back out away from me so I can't even see them.
But it was everyone. It was men and women. It was everybody.
Hey, people, you said speculated as to Albert.
Yes, that's true.
And
but I haven't.
If that door swung both ways,
who knows? But no, I mean, and there's nothing more about that actually that I've read so far in the book. But it was a speculation. Yes, you're right. I forgot. There was a special court dress. It included certain things you had to wear. I think it must have been like corsets for women, but you could get a doctor's note if you couldn't wear the special court dress. So that was good, at least. It seems like there were a couple caveats. There was punishment for, quote, dishonest or sexually loose behavior. This actually got Albert's brother Ernest in trouble a little bit later.
Okay.
I think a lot of this stuff happened later, but Ernest definitely had syphilis. And he turned out to be, it's fun. So we were talking about how Victoria had kind of liked Ernest a little bit more. He wasn't so earnest.
Okay.
And there's more on him. And he married this woman and they couldn't have children. And she thought it was her fault. And in reality, it was probably him. He probably gave her syphilis and made her infertile. Because he had illegitimate children with other people.
Oh,
but
Ernest.
Albert did not like this.
He's fallen so far since he saved the day.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not going to let that joke go.
He's scared stupid now. And the last thing, a code of conduct was framed and hung in the bedrooms of each of the Queen's ladies. Now, I could not find this code of conduct. I searched.
Oh,
But there was a specific code of conduct for the ladies. I mean, it's like, to me, it's like putting the 10 Commandments on the wall or something.
I'd be so curious to know what that list was.
If I can find it, I will. But I didn't. I spent a few minutes trying to look for it and I couldn't find it.
That's fine.
Okay, so while all of this is going on, Lord Melbourne, our beloved Lord Melbourne, well, Victoria's beloved Lord Melbourne.
Yeah, it's and seemingly a good dude for the most part.
Good enough. I mean, there was the whole like children.
Right.
There was some stuff, but
what was it again? What do you have them do?
Like he spanked them.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know. Okay, anyway, he was losing popularity. He was going to lose to Robert Peel's Tory. So Robert Peel was about to come into power.
That name sounds
well. We talked about him
familiar.
before. He had briefly been asked to be the prime minister, and then he caused the whole bedchamber crisis thing. And so it was like he was back, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
Albert saw this coming. He could see that Lord Melbourne was losing favor and was going to have to, not be prime minister anymore. So he began meeting with Peel to like have a courtship with him, basically, and start to build trust. So he would send his secretary, remember Anson, who Albert didn't want. He was like, I don't want Anson. I don't know this guy. You're setting up some spy in my house.
Yes.
But then they became really good friends. He would send Anson to discuss the resignation of 3 of Victoria's ladies in waiting. So kind of a repeat of what had happened before. But it was more of a chess move to do this like in a calm and collected way so they wouldn't repeat this whole bedchamber crisis thing where she was like, my ladies in waiting are my ladies in waiting. Peel was very adamant that he wanted to make sure Victoria wasn't like, you're trying to do this.
Yeah.
Like he wanted to make sure he wasn't going behind her back because he'd learned his lesson the first time. And Peel actually respected Albert because Albert was trying to basically practice a little bit of internal diplomacy.
Sure.
Albert was a smart guy. That is one thing for sure. He was smart. He was thoughtful. He was a couple steps ahead of people, it seemed like, and not necessarily in a conniving way most of the time.
It seems like he was
a smart dude. He was a good guy to have in place.
I would slightly hesitate to say this, but in terms of the world of politics, anyways, he feels like an Abe Lincoln type. Not necessarily, whatever the great emancipator, but Abe Lincoln felt like a true politician in that he was like, hey, I know what I'm about. I know what policies I want to put into place. I'm not about the nonsense. I'm not about the drama. I really just want the system to work better, and I'm going to put systems into place to make that system better. That's what it feels like to me.
And there's more that we'll come across that he did. He also he was just kind of he was a peculiar guy, but you're right. He knew what he wanted and he knew what he was going to do.
Well, Abe was a peculiar guy too, though.
Yeah.
He was a weird guy.
No, very anyway. So Now, one thing, though, that upset Victoria was these men were kind of making changes, but they were keeping her informed. Now, she's pregnant, of course, so she's maybe not like running around doing all this stuff. She's kind of
36 months of her life were pregnant.
Yeah,
or
it was
like
a lot.
Jeez.
It was crazy. So she no, that's not even enough.
It was
way more because 9 months times 4 would be 36.
That's
so she had
true.
9 children.
Oh my
But
gosh.
anyway, she was about to give birth to her second child, and she was it hit her kind of hard that like Albert's able to go out. He was going to like events and being really well received. She didn't really like him being away from her. She didn't love him acting on her behalf. But like, she was kind of like super pregnant. Like, what was she going to do? One thing that happened around this time too was Albert began joining Victoria when she had her audiences with Melbourne. So before it had always been just Victoria and the Prime Minister. And then Albert kind of came in while she was in her second pregnancy because he knew someone needed to be able to meet with the Prime Minister while she was like laid up, you know,
Okay.
like, so, but it definitely caused a little bit of, I don't know, frustration and discomfort and a little jealousy for her. So weeks later, it's June of 1841, and Melbourne is officially, he's out. Peel's government is coming into power. Remember this whole prime minister thing where they kind of like, if they don't win by enough votes, then they kind of like step down or get pushed out.
And isn't it like there's also something that has to do with if the parties are tipped in the opposite line, then the prime minister will step down?
It's not like a general election. It's within parliament.
That's really strange.
So it's interesting to me. Like they just, I don't know, they just agree, okay, we're moving on. So now it's Peel.
Okay. Deal is that I wonder if that's still the case to this day. I don't know how their prime minister system works.
I mean, I know they've had quite a few prime ministers recently, like Boris Johnson, and there was that woman.
I know, but I thought it was the people at this point democratically elect.
I think we should not speculate on things we haven't researched very much.
I don't know.
In
Forgive
this
us,
case,
British people. We don't know British politics.
In this case, it was time for Peel. And Victoria was devastated because she was going to lose her daily audiences with Melbourne. But Melbourne told her, just to kind of reassure her, he goes, I quote, "While nobody likes going out," or why? He goes, "Why? Nobody likes going out, but I'm not well. I am a good deal tired, and it will be a great rest for me." He was getting older.
Okay.
So he was like, "Yeah, I'm not happy, but I'm also really old and tired." And he'd been through a lot. Like he'd had his whole wife that was kooky, and like, there was a lot that had happened in his life.
And then he had his first few wives died, didn't they? I want to say
he had his son die.
His son died. Okay.
Yeah. And his wife.
That's right. In childbirth, didn't she?
Yeah, the first one. Yeah,
There's
a lot
of people.
So he had a long life. So Victoria was depressed due to Melbourne's departure, and when Peel became prime minister, it's noted that she was definitely much more businesslike in her communications with him than she'd been with Melbourne. Over the next few years, Lord Melbourne was described as somewhat sad and lonely for the final years of his life.
Oh.
His biographer said that he missed the days with the Queen and cited them as the happiest of his life.
Oh.
He had told her on his last day, quote, "For years I have seen you daily and I have liked you better every day."
What a sweetie.
I know.
Except for the children spanking thing.
That was
Guy,
weird.
Come
I don't know.
on.
Well, he was not convicted of some of these
things.
It's
just
could have been wild accusations.
I hope that it was nothing, but
I hope it was nothing. The Queen kept up correspondence with Melbourne and gave him gifts. She lent him money, but from what I can tell, they did not see each other again. And he died a few years later in 1848.
Buddy.
Yeah, alone.
Oh, like not even like, hey, come over for dinner.
Okay, there's this one story. I was trying to like leave stuff out, but if I remember correctly, there was like an event. He was there. I mean, I think that they would go to. She'd be there at an event, but they didn't have like a sit down talk. They'd cross paths, but like they didn't really interact. But because apparently there was like this receiving line where everyone was going up and shaking hands with her or meeting her or whatever you do to say hello to the Queen. And it was such a long line, and he was old and tired. He was just like, I gotta go.
I mean, I guess I just find it a little surprising that there wouldn't have been some level of like, hey, once every couple months, let me write to Lord Melbourne and be like, hey, just come over for dinner.
She wrote to him. I don't know.
Like on a Tuesday that me and Albert are just hanging, like come on over and have dinner.
She was very, very busy.
But she didn't have time for one dinner to have him over for a dinner.
Well, you're gonna hear some stuff that happened in the 1840s that were occupying her because. Anyway.
No time for Lord Melbourne.
Poor Lord Melbourne. Poor
blah,
Lord Melbourne.
Blah, blah, blah.
So With Peel in place as Prime Minister, Albert was free of one of Victoria's 2 most trusted advisors.
Free of them?
He
Okay.
was free of them. Free of Lord Melbourne. Because, like, really, Albert came in and he had the 2 people closest to Victoria, and he's her husband. So he's like, okay, now that Lord Melbourne's out, now I'm closer, I guess, to my own wife. Anyway, so he moved on to Leysin. And this part, I have trouble with this. We talk about these people, and we talked about Mabel, and we talk about Victoria and some of the things that people do, and you're like, I don't love this.
Yeah.
And people are complex and lives are long and things that happen, and we weren't there and we don't really truly know. Like, all of this is through diaries that have been redacted by historians, and there's centuries in between then and now. So there's that, but I don't love this part. So Albert, to me, was acting like kind of a jerk right now. Victoria writes him as history writes him as the love of Victoria's life and generally reveres him. But in addition to him taking charge, he was kind of going behind her back, and he became a little bit heartless to me. He was gathering some men from the court to plant the seeds of distrust in Leysin. So there were rumors that were starting. She was trying to undermine Albert. And the author says that there's little to no evidence of this. She had in the past called Albert such a good and humble-minded person. And if you remember, when he proposed, he went and told Leysin first, not even Victoria's mom. So this is all a little weird. In 1842, Albert told Leysin point blank to leave the palace. Because in his mind, she had Victoria's ear too much. Leysin ignored him, and then she just stopped talking to him because she was like, absolutely not. I've been here since she was a child.
Right.
Like, I love her. And she truly did. Like, she loved Victoria like a daughter. Okay, so Albert had told Leysin point blank to leave the palace. She ignored him and stopped talking to him. They really started butting heads when Albert found Leysin holding, remember, Pussy, the daughter? She was holding Pussy on her lap. Leysin was a commoner and not of a rank that was allowed to hold a royal child.
Oh my gosh.
The author notes that even wet nurses had to stand while breastfeeding royal children. They weren't allowed to sit.
I didn't realize there was any you can't hold a royal baby statuses.
I didn't know that either. Albert became outright nasty toward Leysin, calling her a spinster gremlin and the hag.
The hag.
Yeah. He blamed Leysin for Victoria's shortcomings. His perception that Victoria had a subpar education at the hands of Leysin. Victoria had admitted to being nervous about speaking with scholars and politicians, and it wasn't because she was uneducated. She was fluent in English, German, French, and knew some Italian. To be honest, I think that Victoria just seemed a bit insecure.
Totally.
People would talk about her plumpness. During the time, most people didn't think that a woman should even be the sovereign. Yeah, I think that if I had to prove myself despite my birthright, I might be a little bit insecure too.
Dude, I mean, look, I'm a nothing person, and I feel like I'm trying really hard to do good work over here, but if you put me in a room with a bunch of scholarly historians and biographers, I would go into the corner and be like, if anybody wants to talk to me, I'll say hello.
I read a book.
Yep, I'm here, I'll listen, but I would feel the exact same way. I'd feel very insecure, you know?
That's what I'm gathering from her, because she defers to Albert a lot. She deferred to Lord Melbourne a lot. And I think that the book says this too. She also thought men are a little smarter or more.
If your whole life, that's what society and all of your trusted people are telling you is like, hey, you're less than. It's like, it would take a really strong person.
That's still happening today.
I know.
And it's gotten a lot better. So yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it.
Right. So
we're moving on to Victoria actually having this baby she's been carrying. His name was Edward VII. He was known as Bertie. Okay?
Bertie.
He was born on November 9th, 1841. After his birth, Victoria suffered from a year of postpartum depression. And people actually were worried that she was headed down the path of her grandfather, Mad King George, because of it.
Mabel too, remember?
Yep. And she's been prone to depression. There's a lot of people prone to depression back here. I think it was also very dark and people were inside and there was no vitamin D. I don't know. A lot of people were depressed.
Yeah.
But she did come out of it, and years later she said that the depression was due to having 2 babies in such a short period. She wrote that, and she said that to her oldest daughter, Pussy. Especially when just months before she married Albert, she had even been saying, remember, she was like, I would rather maybe be single for a couple more years. And he was like, no. So yeah, if you're like thinking maybe I don't want to be married for like 3 more years, and then you end up getting married and immediately getting pregnant and then having the baby and immediately getting pregnant again, it's like you have 2 babies in the time where in your head just years before you'd been thinking I won't even be married by this time.
And was it 3 months, within 3 months of the baby?
It was
Something like that?
It was a very
really
short
quick.
period of time because she wasn't breastfeeding.
I'm surprised that she's English. It feels like an Irish person. I'm sorry, I had to make an Irish joke about
Well, it
lots
feels
of
like
babies.
a Catholic person, and she wasn't Catholic.
I have very strong Irish Catholic roots, so I feel like I have the right to make that joke.
So when Birdie was only a few months old, his older sister, Pussy, was not doing so well. She had been in poor... This all comes back to Lazen, by the way. She had been in poor health for a while, and Dr. Clark...
I thought you were going to say this all comes back to Pussy.
No. Dr. Clark, our favorite bumbling idiot doctor.
Dr. Clark.
Dr. Clark.
She must be pregnant. She's got
a belly.
Gut.
Oh my gosh, he's the worst. So he prescribed Pussy milk and broth, but also added in, this is a fun one, some mercury-laced calomel.
Oh, great. Okay,
so at the time, this was thought to be a miracle drug, but years later it was revealed that it was a poison, especially harmful to infants. Oh, and throw in a little laudanum.
Oh, yay.
Which is known, as we know, to be an appetite suppressant, but they didn't know that back then.
Oh
so
gosh.
Dr. Clark is poisoning Pussy, starving her. She's whittling away. Everyone's seeing her, and Albert is blaming Lazen.
Okay, well, I don't know if I can take it all back about Albert, but
I mean,
let's say there's a black mark.
We also have the benefit of understanding that all these things they were giving this child was going to cause her to literally be wasting away and dying.
True.
All of this comes to a head, and Victoria and Albert have a screaming match in front of some servants. Albert was accusing Victoria and Lazen to try to hurt Pussy. He was like literally thinking she was intentionally trying to hurt the child. Jeez. And Victoria was like, you want to control everything, and I'm sorry I ever married you.
Ooh.
Albert did not like that, and he left. He didn't leave. He just went away in the giant palace. Stormed out, and he refused to speak to Victoria for days. So, if you remember, when Victoria was little, she was prone to tantrums.
Yes.
She had flown off the handle, and she said some things she didn't mean. She asked for forgiveness, and this is where I get even more frustrated with Albert, because he knew her nature. She described these outbursts she had as, I love this, combustibles, which were moments where she lost her temper and then calmed down. Now, I'm not saying that's okay. I know about abusive people and the kind of people you have to walk around eggshells, and I don't know that Victoria was that. I think that she had a lot of pressure on her, and people didn't know what they knew about psychology, and she was postpartum and depressed, and she was... she had this childhood where she was under the Kensington system, and it was impossible. She is a person who deserves to have some outbursts here and there. Sure. Whereas some people that you see in movies, they're just getting drunk and screaming for no reason. Sure. And there was a reason she got angry. She got angry because she was being accused of poisoning her daughter.
And she's also got to cope with the fact that she's German. So it's going to make anybody angry.
Daniel for the comic relief. So she calmed down. It took Albert a little time to come around, but in the end, Albert actually dismissed Lazen from being in charge of the babies, and Lady Littleton replaced her, which was okay because the children loved her. Albert liked her. Victoria thought Lady Littleton was pretty good. But what was wrong with Pussy?
I'm not going to be able to do that.
In the end, this is it makes me feel kind of... In the end, they just think that she was fussed over too much. She was fine. And they gave her medication that she didn't even need. She might have been a little not hungry because she was a little kid. Sometimes kids eat more, they eat less. They start treating her for some condition she does not have.
Oh, no.
And then they just made her sick by trying to make her better from something that wasn't even a thing.
No.
So they just stopped giving her all this stuff, and ultimately she ended up being fine.
Oh, good.
So
I was waiting for the worst.
No, she didn't die.
Gosh.
Remember, years later, Victoria told this daughter, hey, I was depressed after having 2 babies back to back. So she lived. Okay. It was fine, but it definitely caused a big uproar. A month later, July 25th, Albert had just had enough with Leysen and he fired her behind Victoria's back. And he told Victoria that Leysen had said that she wanted to go back to Germany. And Leysen, because she loved Victoria and protected her, she went with the story so that she wouldn't upset Victoria.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
She acted cheerful with her, quote, decision. In late September, she left Windsor without saying goodbye because she didn't want to disturb Victoria because she knew neither of them would be able to keep their composure.
Oh.
She moved to Germany to live with her sister, and then sadly, her sister ended up dying just like a couple months later, so she moved to Germany and lived by herself. She lived there for 28 more years, ever loyal to and proud of her queen. I'm like choking up a little bit.
Oh, man.
Victoria and Leysen met again in 1866 for a tearful reunion after Albert, spoiler alert, had died.
Oh, okay.
Leysen died in 1870 at the age of 85. And then they said that for the months right before she died, she had a broken hip and she was kind of losing her wits a little bit. But all she did was talk about her queen. And I'm just like, oh, poor Leysen. She dedicated her life to this woman, this girl who became the queen. And she just got the short end of the stick. Yeah.
30 years of loneliness. Sister dies. That's horrible.
I know, it's horrible. And this is why I'm like, Albert, I'm not okay with you right now. Okay. I'm upset with you.
Albert was flawed.
Everybody has their flaws. So with Melbourne and Leysen out of the way, Albert was able to basically be the de facto king, despite his lack of formal position. I'm still upset with Albert. But in his defense, he did care about a lot of things that were actually really important.
Sure.
Some of those things included army reform, education, especially science and geology. Those were subjects he was really devoted to. He cared about slavery. He was working on that. Working conditions for the working class, foreign relations, specifically with Germany and France. He cared about music, art, housing, architecture. He was a member of numerous organizations, and it listed a ton, but I'll list just a couple here. The Royal Agricultural Society, the National Education Conference, the Society for the Arts, and the Society for the Extinction of Slavery. So...
And by this time, slavery had already been abolished in the UK, right?
Yeah, I think
I'm
so.
pretty sure
we talked about that. It was like 1830 or something.
Yeah, I think so.
So, again... I mean, Melbourne would be out when he was out. Like, he was a prime minister. His time was fleeting, always. Yeah. Leysen, I mean, it honestly came down to personal. The truth is, who knows? Like, Victoria was, to me, it seemed like she was extremely hard-headed, but also extremely subjectable to things, too. Like, it was like she was both, right? Yeah. She didn't want to be told what to do, but sometimes she'd be told what to do and she'd happily go along with it. So I don't know. I don't think Leysen was malicious. I think that Albert it was like personal. I don't know.
I wonder though if there was something with Leysen that was almost like if we were to compare it to modern politics and if there was a presidential cabinet or something like that, and there was one staffer who was a extremist of whatever group. I'm not going to isolate and pick on anybody here, but if they're against what that president is, whether it's independent or green or Republican or Democrat, right? It almost feels like I wonder if Leysen was that other party member of the staff that was constantly going, no, this initiative isn't right or something.
It might be that, because one thing that I did read, I remember Victoria would get frustrated because she and Leysen would decide something about the household, let's say.
Yeah.
And then Albert would go and fix it. And change it.
Yeah.
Change what they had decided together. And that upset Victoria. Now, I'm not saying that Victoria and Leysen's process or whatever they decided on was right. Albert probably did something that made it even better because he was a smart guy. Like, I don't think he was being malicious. I think he was being practical. And so I think that was part of it. Like, I think that Victoria and Leysen, and it said something too, like Leysen had been there under the Kensington system. As corrupt as Conroy was, the whole point of that was to protect Victoria.
Sure.
And Leysen was protecting Victoria, no matter what.
I think that's true. I just wonder if she was protecting her in the way that Lazen felt that a queen should be protected, and being like, no, a queen, I know what it is to be a queen, and I know the royal things. Well,
she might have been saying, I know Victoria better than you do, and that was probably pissing Albert off. I don't know. I mean, we can only speculate.
Right, and or I'm just even thinking about, like, if he's trying to implement some change that's like, dude, this is antiquated, and the bureaucracy behind this is crazy convoluted, and if I don't know this, obviously it's all pure speculation, but I wonder if Lazen was like one of the few that was going like, no, Albert, you how dare you say something like that? This is put in place for a reason, and he was just like, okay, I am done with this. You know what I mean?
There's a lot. I do know that I don't like that he went behind her back.
Sure.
And ultimately, it seems as though, I mean, first of all, Victoria, as far as I can tell, didn't know that he did this. So everything was forgiven, I guess, or things went along. Like, she continued to be married to him and it was fine. But I don't know.
It just seems so strangely out of character for a dude, seemingly, obviously, this is all, 100, 200, whatever years after the fact. But it just seems like for a guy that is so morally, supposedly upright and has such a specific set of standards to what is good and what is bad, and he's anti-slavery and pro-worker and all this stuff, than Lazen?
Yeah, I think he thought he knew better. But I don't know. I mean, we could talk about this forever.
And that's what I mean, though, is that, and yeah, we'll stop. But that's, I guess what I mean is, like, if he was sitting there going, like, I'm trying to do these things, and you're one of the few roadblockers continuously who's putting these ideas in Victoria's head that these are bad ideas for some reason.
Maybe.
I don't know. Just wondering.
Maybe. But we're going to get into some stuff that he did that was good.
Totally.
His love for the arts. He loved the arts. He proposed a ball at Buckingham Palace to take place in May of 1842. The ball was a success. Everybody looked great. It was fun and wonderful. The Queen danced until 2:45 a.m. I guess she broke the schedule that day. But the ball itself was not that well received by the general public, given the juxtaposition of the elite dancing at night while the working class suffered and children were working in coal mines. So it was like an optics issue.
Gotcha.
At this time, Peel and his government had a lot of work to do. The book points out that political attention was turning to the way that the working class lived. Like, people remember, like, we brought up something about, like, Victoria was a little concerned with the working class, and Lord Melbourne was like, I don't like to think about that stuff.
Yes.
Peel actually did like to think about that stuff. There was a report, it was the first of its kind, on the working conditions of children. And these children were called trappers in the mines. They were between ages 4 and 10.
Jesus.
And they were used because they could fit into small spaces.
Well, of course.
Girls and boys alike worked there. Of course, sexual assault was common, and it was unbelievably hot down there. A series of changes, including the Coal Mines Act of 1842 and another bill passed in 1847 that limited the workday to just 10 hours.
Oh, good.
That was progress. According to the book, by 1851, only 2% of children ages 5 to 9 worked, and only a quarter of 10 to 14-year-olds worked.
I mean, okay. Baby steps.
Yeah. Baby steps for the babies. In general, though, like, over the course of Victoria's reign, the living conditions of most of her subjects improved. More people were able to vote, and they had basic protections at work. And we have to remember something that I was like reading all this stuff. I'm like, Victoria, why didn't you do something? They were, but the reality was she couldn't just make a sweeping declaration to change things. She's not the government.
Right.
She's like next to it.
Well, and you also have to, like, I think it's so important to remember that it's like, dude, not even 200 years ago, the Renaissance was taking over Europe. Like, that is the time that we're in, and the Renaissance was not an age, despite all the beautiful romantic looking paintings, it was not an age of prosperous democracy and equality for all, by no stretch of the imagination. So when Victoria is getting here, I would actually make the argument that she is within 100 years of what we would call the civilized age, quote unquote civilized age.
It's becoming a lot more civilized it's the Industrial Revolution that's happening during her time.
So it's like all of this stuff is, I think, prior to the Industrial Revolution, we just didn't see a lot of the workers' common issues. You know what I mean?
I don't remember enough about the Industrial Revolution, but the reality is, like, even just think about the jobs that you and I have held in the last couple of years. These jobs didn't exist 30 years ago.
Totally.
So, like, this stuff, like with the mines and having to they were like, we need labor. A lot of people, they lived, it was, agrarian. They were farmers and stuff like that. They lived in small communities, and then people started moving to the cities, and like all of these changes that were happening, it was kind of like the way things are now. We're trying to figure out how all this works.
And I think you're going along with exactly what I'm trying to say, which is that, like, Victoria, why aren't you doing anything? Well, I think she is trying to, but these are issues that are so new.
Yeah.
That are like,
we have hindsight to help us.
That it's just like, it's hard to sort of say, like, you know, this is what you should have done, because it was like, you didn't know. It was actively building at the time.
It makes me think, what's that South Park episode where it's like the superhero, like hindsight's 20, Captain Hindsight. Yeah, we're Captain Hindsight right now, pardon me. But yeah, I mean, we'll get more into some stuff that happened. Yeah. So if we remember, as we said, Lord Melbourne was pretty laissez-faire as a prime minister. Peel was hands-on. He reviewed budgets. He turned a deficit into a surplus, even though he also cut tariffs at the same time. He introduced an income tax on the wealthiest people, those who were making more than 150,000 or 150 pounds a year. 150,000 would be now 150 pounds a year. And it was a tax that Victoria agreed to pay herself.
Huh.
So that was well received, because people were like, oh, okay, if the Queen will do it, we'll do it.
Cool.
He introduced reform and regulations in banking and business as well. So despite all this seeming progress, there was other serious trouble brewing. I'm sure you've heard of the potato famine in Ireland.
Oh, I know all about potato famine.
Yeah. So...
I know some facts about it, by the way, that I hope you're going to say. And I
if
won't
I don't,
reveal
then
them.
You should say them.
I will.
So Peel went to Parliament to argue for the repeal of the Corn Laws, which were tariffs placed on many foreign items, including wheat. The tariff was driving up the price of bread, which the Irish needed because the potato crop had failed. So they're like starving and they need bread. Landowners said that removing these tariffs would ruin them, because then people could get these staples from elsewhere.
Okay.
Peel went against his party on this one because he believed the tariffs were inhibiting free trade. So the party wanted the tariffs, but Peel didn't.
Okay.
Victoria and Albert supported Peel. Just as an aside, Albert showed up and actually listened in person to Peel debate these corn laws for days in 1846. And it was actually, people were like, you're too political, sir, Albert, get out of here. Like,
could you imagine listening to somebody talk about corn law?
It was like,
days?
3 hours every day for days.
Holy mole, I would die.
It was a lot. So the vote to repeal the Corn Laws actually did pass with the majority, but the Tories, so Peel's party, were split on this issue because Peel split from his party and he joined the Whigs and the Radicals so he
interesting.
And it actually was political suicide, and it led to his demise.
Wow.
Politically, not like literally.
But ultimately, it was good for the Irish.
It was good for people. It was good for free trade and stuff. Well, it was good for the Irish, but hold on, this is just the beginning of the potato famine.
Okay, cool.
So the potato famine rages on. Peel resigns, and he's replaced by another guy, a Whig named Lord John Russell. Remember, his wife was allowed to stand at court.
Oh, yes. Or sit at court.
Sit at court after she had a baby. More on him. We'll get to him later. Victoria was saddened because she actually had come around to Peel, even though she hated him years before. And she said that I have a quote here about like how she thought about this whole time. She said, quote, "Really, when one is so happy and blessed in one's home life as I am, politics, provided my country is safe," so she did put that little caveat in there, "must take only a second place." So this was a famous quote, and people kind of misconstrued her meaning that she disliked politics. It wasn't true. She just believed in family above all else, which actually contributed to her popularity as a monarch.
Makes sense.
And she did say, as long as my country is safe, family first. But she did understand her duty to her country. So during the 1840s, there was a lot going on personally with Albert and Victoria. I realized I put Albert first. This is about Victoria.
Ooh.
Personally with Victoria and Albert.
There we go.
And we're going to get back to the potato family. And there's more on that coming.
Totally.
In 1843, Albert and Victoria... I literally read it the other way because I think I'm reading it alphabetically.
Why are you so sexist?
It's alphabetical in my brain. I wrote it, Victoria and Albert. I actually started writing like V and A. Anyway, Victoria and Albert took their first train ride.
Hey, there we go. Finally.
It made Albert sick. His stomach was upset. But Victoria found it thrilling.
Have you ever seen... It's not a great movie. It was made years ago. It was with Jack Black and Michael Cera. It was called Year One.
I may have seen... No, I didn't see that. I don't think I was the target demographic for that one.
It's not great. It's yeah, we won't go into it too much, but it's about them as like hunter-gatherers. That's where it starts out, as Jack Black and Michael Cera as hunter-gatherers. And they meet up with, I think it's like the biblical Abraham or something like that at one point. And yada, yada, yada. Abraham says, oh yeah, I'll take you where you want to go. And they go, what do you mean take us? And he goes, hop on the back of my cart. And he's got like literally like a cow pulling his cart. Right? And then cut to Jack Black and Michael Cera going, whoa, whoa, slow down. And they're sitting on the back of a cart that is going like 3 miles an hour. I imagine if you've never experienced anything like that before.
Albert.
Yeah.
That was Albert. Well, and to put it in perspective, they went 44 miles per hour.
Dude, that's... A horse can't go 44. You know what I mean? So it's like...
It was fast enough.
That's fast for them.
It's fast enough. Victoria thought it was awesome. Albert was puking.
Kind of makes me happy.
Yeah, well. I mean, remember, every time he came over from Germany on the boat, he was like, blah.
That's right. He was always kind of sickly too anyways.
He got bad motion sickness. I feel bad. Aaron gets really bad motion sickness.
I know. That's why he always drives the car.
Yes. Oh, but we did discover something. There's like a patch you can get that goes behind your ear.
Ooh, okay.
And it works for him. It's the first thing that has ever worked. So if I ever figure out what that patch, for those of you who have motion sickness, you can get it from your doctor.
Cool.
Anyway. Okay, so that was 1843. 1844, Albert lost his father. Remember his kind of womanizing father?
Kind of maybe father.
Yeah, and the book, I didn't get too far into this, but like Albert was having a little homesickness. Also, that might have been why he was a little bit nasty. Like he was feeling sad. He was missing his family. But then when his father actually passed away, it hit him pretty hard. But he did seem like a guy that like got over things quickly and would refocus his energy. And he refocused on his family. He was like, well, my family that brought me up is no longer there. I'm focusing on the family I'm creating with Victoria.
I don't know if that's healthy or not, but it seems healthy.
I mean, looking forward, not backward is good. Yeah. I mean, remember also he like moved his father's or his mother's remains. Like they did some weird stuff, and I don't know, but generally he moved forward and he was focusing on his family. We'll get a little bit more into that too. As he was remodeling Buckingham Palace, he was also setting up the Osborne House on the Isle of Wight. Victoria called the Osborne House a perfect little paradise. You know how she likes to use perfect and little. And
she does like to say perfect.
Perfect little paradise. Perfection.
He is perfection.
They fixed the place up. I thought this was interesting. They created a lake so they could fight fires if they occurred. I didn't know this was a thing.
That's super smart.
I mean, they had to make a lake.
Yeah.
Just in case. They also created an ice house, which would be cool. Haha. Pun intended.
Oh, God.
They made a beach hut with mosaic tiles for Victoria, and she used a wooden bathing machine so that she could protect her modesty.
Oh, the cart thing.
Yes, the cart thing that takes her out into the water.
Did I send that to you, or did you send that to me?
You told me about that.
Okay.
And I don't remember if we brought it up on the podcast or not, if we just talked about it, but it's like a little cart that rolls into the water.
Imagine like the circus in like the 20s and 30s. Okay,
it's like a porta potty on wheels,
like a long porta potty.
Yeah,
that's
like a long porta potty,
like a covered wagon porta potty,
like a skinny covered wagon.
And I'm remembering this now because I sent this to you and I was like, this is crazy. And so what they would do is because women didn't want to see them bathe, so they would literally have a flag that they would hoist up from inside of their covered little wood wagon thing, and that would signal to the beach driver person, hey, this person wants to go in for a dip. So they would come along with their horse and they would pull this wagon into the ocean, door facing out towards away from the shore, so that the women could go open their door, take a dip in the little water, get back in, raise the flag again, and that would signal the coach guy at the beach to come pull the wagon out of the ocean just so that nobody could see a woman
in their bathing gear,
neck to ankles covered in their bathing gear. That was immodest. So they had to have this whole elaborate wagon system.
It's wild.
Dude, when it was from a TikTok video, I'll be honest with you. This dude was talking about, and I just went, the lengths that these old people went to preserve quote unquote modesty is hilarious to me.
And the difference between now, it's like I look at influencers in the wild and you see these girls in thong swimsuits like shaking their butt on the beach.
Dude, the one that I can't get over is the ones where it's like basically fishnetting as a bikini. And it's like, I can see everything. You know what I mean? I'm not really complaining, but it's also strange.
That's a little odd.
Yeah. So anyway.
Victoria used a bathing machine.
Had to preserve her
she
modesty.
had to, she was the queen.
I mean, that one actually makes sense. All the other ones, I'm just like, what do you people? Who cares? Whatever. Different times.
So also at the Osborne house, Albert designed everything from the nursery to the light fixtures, and then this I love. He liked to garden, so he learned how to take raw sewage and turn it into fertilizer, and he was flummoxed when other people didn't want to do this.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, if it works, haters gonna hate. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's pretty green of him.
I wonder if Albert was the one who was like, "Hold on, dear, I'll be right back. I'm going to pop into the sewage for a little bit," and then like comes out with a bucket of shit, and it's just like, "Cool, let's make fertilizer." I can't imagine. It's got to be like he has a servant that he's like, "Go to the sewer."
I don't know. He does seem kind of hands-on, so who knows? People have hobbies.
Oh man, I just I mean, I think he was ahead of his time. It's kind of rad.
Yeah. Well, Osborne House was decorated with pictures of the family as well as art. One notable piece of art is called La Siesta, and it's by Franz Xaver. It's not Xavier, it's Xaver. Anyway, Winterhalter.
Javier, maybe?
I don't know. He was German.
Oh, then I don't know.
So, but the last name is Winterhalter. Winterhalter. La Siesta is considered to be the first painting that Victoria bought herself. It is also said to be suggestive. Okay, now I looked at it.
Okay.
It's got 3 young women sitting together, and their skirts are there, and they're kind of like leaning on each other like they're taking a little nap. La siesta. The skirt of the girl in the middle, the way that the folds are, it looks like that could be the back of a man, like up her skirt.
Oh.
And then the book said that there was an extra set of feet. I didn't see it, so I don't know. And there's a footnote about the curator of the Osborne House collection or whatever, and he says that like paintings can get touched up over years, and so things could be removed, and like you may want to like it would be interesting. I think he said to like, I don't know, X-ray or use some sort of method to like look at the layers of paint, like maybe that sauciness was taken out.
Okay, I'm looking at the painting.
So if you look at the main girl in the center, the back of her skirt looks like it could be the back of a man's overcoat. Or not overcoat, just like suit coat.
The girl in the center.
So,
Yes. I see this. It totally does look like that.
But I don't see the extra feet.
I don't see extra feet.
I didn't realize her head is not in the center. Her body is in the center.
The thing that I do see though that makes me go, nah, I think this is oh boy, if it's there, it's clever. It is very well hidden if it is real. But the only reason that I would say that it's not suggestive is that if you look at the positioning of the feet, it doesn't look like they're
her feet.
They're clearly her feet. They're angled in a way that's just like if that was a person on their stomach, their feet wouldn't bend like that. They don't turn that way.
Yeah.
You know?
But the book says that it may have been painted over.
Oh, the plot thickens.
Well, the book says something that's like, they like to think about Victoria being like, oh, Albert, look at this saucy portrait I've gotten, or painting I've gotten.
Yeah.
So I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole about Franz also.
Do tell.
So for Albert's 24th birthday in 1843, Victoria had Franz Winterhalter paint a portrait of her. And I quote from the Royal Collection Trust website. The portrait was an intimate and alluring pose, leaning against a red cushion with her hair half unraveled from a fashionable knot. Now, basically, it's like her regular hairstyle, but then one side is down.
Oh.
And I mean, it's supposed to be very suggestive.
Oh, yes.
It was her sexy birthday portrait. And then they made like miniatures of it for him.
Gosh.
But anyway, so they apparently liked this painter.
This is like early days boudoir photo shoots.
There is like, I don't even think there's any cleavage in it. It's not suggestive at all. But then again, she couldn't go bathing without
I was honestly waiting for it to be like, oh yeah, her hair was down on one side, and then if you look very closely, you can see the starts of her ankles.
Oh no,
and it was
no,
like,
it's just a portrait. It's not even her whole body.
Oh my god! Wow,
it's just the
just
top.
a portrait.
Yes,
that makes it even less exciting.
I know, it's pretty funny. Also linked to on the website.
Oh, beauty.
Okay. So Victoria had more children in the 1840s. She had Princess Alice Maud Mary in April of 1843, who was nicknamed Fatima because she was chubby.
Oh no!
What is with these people?
Dude, that's super nasty.
Yep. She also became pregnant almost immediately after this. And on August 8th of 1844, which August 8th is Rooney's birthday, my dog's birthday, gave birth to Alfred Ernest Albert. But which every time I read it, I think, did I type the same name twice? Alfred Ernest Albert.
That's funny.
And he was nicknamed Affie. Affie, not Alfie, Affie.
By the way, about Fatima really quick, that makes me extra sad is I knew a person named Fatima in Los Angeles years and years and years ago.
It's like a Middle Eastern name, isn't it?
The person that I knew, I was 99% sure was Hispanic.
Oh, okay, maybe.
But I don't know if that's like a traditional Spanish name or what.
I knew a Fatima when I was in grad school, who was definitely from, I think technically her parents were like from Iran or something like that.
Yeah, I do not know the origins of that name, so don't get mad at me, everybody, if
I don't know,
totally
but her
wrong.
nickname was Fatima because everybody's mean.
That is so lame. Anyway.
Their fifth child was not born until May 1846, giving Victoria a little time off, I guess. That was Princess Helena Augusta Victoria.
Helena Augusta is kind of a cool name.
Helena Augusta. So Victoria had an interest in the unusual. She met Tom Thumb from P.T. Barnum's circus.
No way!
3 times as he toured Britain, yes. She also met the Lady of the Lions, who was a woman that actually went in the ring with the lions and the tigers. So that was like a big deal back then.
Wow.
Others that had audiences with her included, she called it, curiosities. Like, I know that's kind of a term, but her curiosities included exotic animals, horse whisperers, court jesters, and other sorts of physically unusual people.
Okay.
For example, she invited a couple that was said to be the tallest couple in the world to Buckingham Palace, and she gave the bride a ring and a wedding dress.
Cool.
The last part I like, she also had regular shows from a handsome muscle man named Eugene Sandow.
I am definitely seeing the classic bald muscle man with like the single strap leotard and the giant mustache, and then like he's lifting the weights.
You pretty much have it right.
Is that what it is?
His mustache isn't that giant, but yeah.
And he's lifting the weights that are the black circles, the spheres on each of them.
Literally, that
is exactly
if you look
what I'm
up
imagining.
Eugene Sandow, yes. That is him.
Oh, and can I also just say, I'm very passionate about this. For any person out there that's like, oh, yay, she met Tom Thumb. That means that she met Hugh Jackman and his little merry band of people that he just adopted because he had goodness in his heart and he loved them. No, P.T. Barnum was an evil, evil man that exploited people in every possible way that he could, including Tom Thumb. He bought Tom Thumb. No, people don't know that, okay? The first person that P.T. Barnum bought, okay, after Tom Thumb was actually a black woman who was sold to him under the pretense that she was George Washington's first maid or nanny, okay? He bought her after slavery had been abolished in the United States. That is P.T. Barnum.
Oh no, I knew he wasn't great. The first book report I ever had to do was on the life of P.T. Barnum in middle school. Now, I remember nothing from that except that one of the exhibits in his P.T. Barnum circus, it wasn't the circus, it was like a place you could go.
It was like it was more or less Ripley's Believe It or Not. It was like, look at my exhibit of crazy weird stuff.
Well, one of them had a sign that said "This way to the egress." And so people would walk through the egress and they would be outside.
I heard that.
And then I think I might have told you that. And they'd have to pay to get back in.
This was so for anybody that's curious about P.T. Barnum and his life, the dudes at Last Podcast on the Left did like a 2-part series on him, and they talked about it on there and how crooked this guy was. And so that's why if anybody ever comes and talks to me randomly on the streets and is like, hey, what did you think about The Greatest Showman? I will tell you exactly what I thought about The Greatest Showman. And it has nothing to do with Zendaya, and it has nothing to do with Zac Efron, and it has nothing to do with this lovely cast of people and all their nice things they're trying to do. And it has everything to do that these people, Hollywood, turned an evil human into a singing, dancing, jolly, lovely guy that we're all supposed to admire. And I'm like, dude, why don't you go make Springtime for Hitler and like tell us how great that's going to be? Which, by the way, that's a producer's reference, if anybody doesn't know that. So I'm not actually suggesting this. Springtime for Hitler is from, you know the producers, right?
I never watched The Producers, but I
oh my God.
Oh gosh, add it to the list.
Oh no, Producers is one of those, like, it's Mel Brooks's, I want to say first movie, and it was written with Gene Wilder, and for anybody that doesn't know, they're trying to make a bomb of a Broadway play, and the play they write is called Springtime for Hitler, and it's great. Anyway, I'm sorry, tangent.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
But P.T. Barnum is terrible, and he should not be celebrated.
Okay. Well, the funny thing about Tom Thumb to me, and this is only people from like Texas maybe would know this, is that there was a grocery store chain called Tom Thumb. Huh. Yeah, that when I grew up. So that was like where I knew the words Tom Thumb when I was a kid.
I first knew it from the Bob Dylan song, Tom Thumb's Blues.
Oh, well, that makes sense for you. And it makes sense that I would know Tom Thumb from a grocery store.
It's true. As you stare at me with Bob Dylan behind me currently,
yes,
on a big
guys,
framed
it's
poster.
like he's covering up Bob Dylan's body and his head is like right up. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a great picture.
My
sister gave it to me.
Yeah, it is. By this time in the mid-1840s, Albert was said to be, quote, the king to all intents and purposes. That's quoted by Lord Lansdowne, which I didn't research, but he had a cool name, Lansdowne. Albert shared a lot of the work of Victoria's correspondence at this point. He was there with the visits with the prime ministers. He was basically the king. Okay. As 1847 came around, the potato famine was escalating, and Parliament passed the Irish Poor Law Extension Act, which is a weird name. It actually made things worse. The poor were no longer simply given handouts. They weren't provided these handouts. Instead, they were sent to workhouses with terrible conditions. In hopes of helping people hold on to their dignity, the famous famine walls were built.
Yes, I was hoping you were going to talk about those.
Yes. They had people make these walls that were basically pointless so that they could, quote, earn money to buy food. But one of the sources I read actually speculates that the amount of calories burned by building the walls exceeded the amount of calories they could replenish by buying the food.
So for anybody, by the way, that ever takes a trip to Ireland, if you look out in the countrysides and you just see these meandering walls of just squares upon squares upon squares upon squares of stacked little 3-foot tall rock walls, that is where these come from. They were built for no reason, generally speaking, no real purpose. It was just build them and we'll figure out why later.
So they're dry walls, so they don't have any bricks or mortar. They specifically find rocks and they move them around until they get ones that'll basically create the perfect shape to hold itself up. And they actually, those walls have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years.
They're still doing them to this day.
Yeah, but the type of wall itself has existed for hundreds or maybe even more than 1,000 years.
Yeah.
These ones specifically, a lot of them, I saw them when I went to Ireland this summer, were in the Burn area near Galway. And I know you had been there too in the past. And those ones specifically are just up these crazy cliffs. And it's where all these rocks, there's so many rocks in the fields. Now, where they were built in actual farmland areas by people not in these famine wall situations, it was actually a really practical way to build the walls because they had to clear the fields anyway.
Yep.
So they cleared the fields and then built the walls with the rocks that they cleared. So I was like, ooh, that's so cool.
Yes.
And they were really cool. We also went, we went to the 3 islands that the Banshees of Inisherin are based on. Those 3 islands. It's a fake island in the movie.
But is it the one that's across the way from the beehive huts?
No, this is across. It's just right. I don't know about the beehive huts, but this is.
You would know the beehive huts. If
there
you
was
saw
like
them. They were in Star Wars.
There was one beehive thing there, but they said it was only built like a few years before. This was just we went there and then we went by the Cliffs of Moher. Like we went under the Cliffs of Moher, but they had all of those walls there too. So
when I went to the Cliffs of Moher, and I'll show you the pictures. True story. It was like I was so excited to see the Cliffs of Moher, and I get there, and it was literally the tour guide that I was on this little tour with. She goes, in my however many years she had been doing it as a tour guide, she was like, I have never seen fog like this. I literally couldn't see them.
No.
I got to the edge of the wall, like where the tourists like, hey, this is a great viewing point. 4 feet in front of my face, fog. Couldn't see a thing.
That sucks. So
literally nothing.
We took a ferry from, I can't remember the name of the town. And we went to the island, and then when the ferry was taking us back, it swung around and then went right below the Cliffs of Moher.
That's cool.
And then we got on our tour bus and then went up to the visitor center on top so we could look over them. So we got to see them from the water and up above. And it was actually the rainiest day while we were in Ireland, and I was sick. It was just like all these things, but it was still really pretty.
It's one of the reasons I really want to go back.
You'll have to go back, yes.
And the beehive huts, by the way, are one of the really big famous kind of attractions, so to speak, in Ireland or whatever. They were built like, I want to say it was like 500 to 1,000 years ago or something like that, if not more. But the reason that you might know them is that in, even though I didn't like the movie, The Last Jedi, the second of the new ones.
You're asking me, Star. I'm just like, I don't know.
It doesn't matter because it wasn't good. But where Luke Skywalker lives in those ones, he's like on this cliffside, and there's these like huts made out of rocks or whatever. Those are literally the beehive huts. So they literally just went to Ireland and filmed him
just
out
said,
there.
Here we
and then,
go.
Yeah, kind of thing. So anyway.
Well, I will admit, I've probably seen every Star Wars movie once and then didn't really commit it to anything. I liked the one a couple years ago, Solo or whatever. I liked that one.
Solo,
I think people hated that one.
I didn't mind it. I thought
people
it was
hated
fun.
it, but I thought it was actually pretty good. I mean,
it was fun.
And I haven't watched The Mandalorian except for the first couple episodes because I don't have whatever it's on. And so
it's on Disney Plus.
Oh no, now I have access to that. So I should go back and watch The Mandalorian.
I mean, what for the record, all of what you're saying is pretty true. So like the original series of Star Wars, great. I could watch that 10 times over. Basically everything else, and I'm going to get a lot of hate for this because I have not explored like the cartoon universe of Star Wars. I'm just talking about live action stuff. But of the live action stuff, the only stuff that I've really liked, Han Solo, I liked Rogue One, and then I liked
I think I liked Rogue One. That's the one with the girl, right? I mean,
yeah, and it was like it had almost nothing to do with Jedi. It was all about them just trying to get the plans for the Death Star.
Yeah,
and then everybody dies at the end, and it was like perfect.
I would just say that like people are like, there's Trekkies, there's people that are really into Star Wars. I personally, if I'm going to be into something like that, it's Harry Potter. I mean, I'm just not as much of a, and I loved all the Marvel movies too, which I feel like is a universe like the Star Wars universe. So I love that. But anyway, okay, we got to get back to it.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, this is like people came here for Victoria, now we're talking about Star Wars. Like, what?
Hey, it's all related somehow.
Somehow. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. We were talking about the Irish Poor Extension Act and the famous famine walls, and that was where we digressed a little bit. While the Irish were forced to give up their land, food was still sent to England, even though the Irish were starving. During this time, Victoria worried about the extreme distress, in quote, of the Irish and limited her own palace rations in an act of solidarity. But it wasn't a real solution. It quotes in the book that she swung from anger at the landlords for taking wheat rations to disgust at the Irish who murdered those landlords. In this time, people in England hated people in Ireland. I don't know if that's true down today still, but they hated them.
It's complicated.
It was complicated. It was kind of like they also didn't love the French very much. And so she never even visited Ireland until 1849, which was 12 years into her reign. She was the ruler of it. So it makes her seem kind of horrible. But again, she's not the government. She's the monarch. And she really did actually care about the greater good. Like, remember, she was hearing about those things that Charles Dickens had written about. She's like, well, what about this?
Right.
But she did tend to focus more on individual people she met rather than theoretical groups of people she heard about, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
A little more literal.
By the way, really quick fact about the famine. I'm not sure if you're going to say this.
Oh, no.
This little facty.
Okay.
But I was told when I was in Ireland that enough food was actually being produced in Ireland during this time to feed the entire nation. But
that sounds about right.
It was being exported to England because they controlled it, and they basically said, well, we need the wheat. Otherwise, we won't have the wheat. We won't have the veggies, whatever. And so they basically left the Irish more or less to die for a really long period of time and starve.
It was like 5 years.
Yeah, because they were like, oh, yeah, well, the food that you are literally making on your own land, we're just going to take that.
Yeah.
And there are stories as well of when they would find, and this is just, an aside that I think is just interesting, when they would find families that had starved to death in Ireland, a lot of times they would find around their mouth would be green because they were so hungry they were trying to eat grass.
I really wish you hadn't said that.
That is one of the saddest things. I don't know. I think the Irish potato famine, by the way, there have been two separate ones. If people don't know this.
I didn't know that until I was reading this.
People laughing, the potato famine. There have been
potato
two,
famines.
Okay, and it's been for the same reasons, and they starved for the same reasons both times. They took all their food away. So I don't know. I think it's one of those subjects that's important to share because it's another one of those examples that it's just like nobody is exempt from the cruelty of a bad government.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, let's lighten it for a second. So we're talking about the 1840s and things that Victoria and Albert were experienced, and we're getting through. So we're weaving it with politics because it's like a little too heavy to talk about all of it at once. Victoria and Albert also went to Scotland a number of times in the 1840s. So this is basically a tour of the trip I just went on. Basically,
Sweet.
I went to Scotland and Ireland.
You mocked it. Mirrored it? Better?
Yeah, I don't know.
Replicated it?
Yeah, history repeats this. I have no idea. So they went a number of times in the 1840s, and the Scottish Highlands were said to be Victoria's happy place for the rest of her life, which I get. Because damn,
I've never been. I want to go.
Oh my gosh, Daniel! It's I was growing up, living here and seeing the Grand Tetons and Glacier and the Rocky Mountains and all the things. I was like, whatever. It's different. It's gorgeous. It's amazing.
That's how I feel about Monument Valley.
You got to go to the Highlands. So Victoria and Albert befriended locals, and when they were there in Scotland, they didn't stand on ceremony. They wore tartan. Albert studied Gaelic. It's Gaelic in Scotland, not Gaelic. It's called Gaelic. It's two different languages, but they are derivative of each other.
Interesting.
And I had to learn that when I was in Scotland. She loved dancing with the Highlanders without aristocrats judging her. Victoria talked about her wild Highland life and was very pleasantly, and I'm quoting, that Scotch air, Scotch people, Scotch hills, Scotch rivers, Scotch woods are all far preferable to those of any other nation in or out of this world. And to me, I just think it's funny that she didn't mention literal Scotch because she was known to drink some.
Honestly, I was like, she didn't say Scotch whiskey, and that is offensive.
She was known to be a Scotch drinker, though. So.
Atta girl.
It made me chuckle. Okay, so Victoria ultimately gave birth to 9 children, and the physical, mental, and practical toll it took on her was apparent in her journals. It was also an impossibility due to the time. 8 out of 10 women gave birth within a year of their marriage.
Jeez.
Wet nurses were used if they could be, but also they were sometimes suspected of corrupting the children that they cared for. I learned that commercial baby food became available in the 1860s. But before that, babies were given animal's milk or mashed food in addition to breast milk. And the average number of children per woman was 5.5.
Whoa.
She had 9.
That's a lot of babies.
I guess it's where the average comes from.
Yeah.
Despite all this, Albert was Victoria's biggest comfort during these birthing years. He was devoted to the children. One anecdote shared by Lady Littleton said that he was able to help his little 2.5-year-old child get his little tiny glove on, and noted that most fathers of the time wouldn't have had the patience for that. He took his kids to the theater and to the zoo and Madame Tussauds. They flew kites and played hide and seek, and he gave his children piggyback rides.
Really quick, I'm amazed that Madame Tussauds is that old. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. No, because remember they made a wax figure of Victoria's wedding dress.
Oh, that's right.
And I think more things too. But yes, she let them.
It's crazy.
Victoria actually blamed her grandfather's lack of participation in the lives of her uncles on her uncle's bad behavior, because Albert was like giving attention to their children. Her grandfather had just been like Mad King George and off.
Okay.
And her uncles were a bunch of, remember they were like, some of them were drunk, like they were crazy.
Yep.
Her dad died, and her dad seemed like an okay dude, but she never knew him. So she blamed her grandfather for her uncles being a bunch of jerks. And she was like, Albert's got it right. My Albert's got it right.
My sweet Albert. He is perfection.
He is perfection. In 1846, she gave birth to her 5th child, Princess Helena. She was nicknamed Lenchen, which is the German short form of Helena. I don't know.
Didn't she already have a Helena Augustus?
That was the same one. So I'm kind of jumping back into the birth succession.
Gotcha.
Victoria also spent a lot of time with her children herself, so much so that the ladies in waiting commented on it. There was a memo on education, just like a thing that the government put out about education, and Victoria stated, or I guess she put it out, that children should be as much as possible with their parents and learn to place their greatest confidence in them in all things. And she spent a lot of time with her children by reading to them and praying with them and a bunch of other things, and it was all listed in her journals. And people say that she didn't love her children and didn't care for them and stuff, and she did,
obviously.
So their first son, speaking of children, their first son, Bertie, who was at the time the Prince of Wales and ultimately became the king, he had tantrums, a lot like his mother's combustibles. They worked on his education from a young age because since he was the first son of the monarch, he was destined for the throne. But he was always being compared to his older sister, Vicky, Pussy, who was much better at school. As an older sister, I understand.
My brother was always really good at school and I wasn't, so I understand that too.
The eldest is always perfect, right? So Victoria actually thought that Bertie might be stupid. So she had a okay, let me say this right. Phrenologist. She had that phrenologist inspect Bertie's skull. And for those who don't know, phrenology is a pseudoscience that involves the measurement of bumps on the skull to predict mental traits. It's based on the concept that the brain is an organ of the mind and that the certain brain areas have localized specific functions or modules. And despite this investigation, he was perfectly intelligent.
And as a quick aside, for anybody that's seen the movie Django Unchained, there's a point where Leonardo DiCaprio's character, and this is true. This is why Quentin Tarantino wrote this into the movie, because this is how people justified this back in the day. But in the movie, Leonardo DiCaprio opens up the skull of a former slave and proceeds to explain as to why this person was meant to be a slave, because their brain was built in a certain way. So when we say it is a pseudoscience, phrenology, it is 100% a pseudoscience. There is not a lick of truth to it, seemingly. So yeah, like literally that's how people used to justify what they would do, is they would be like, oh yeah, we enslaved a person because look, their brain says it's supposed. It's just like, it's nonsense.
I mean, again, this is Captain Hindsight here too. Like
it is. It's just so fun. I mean, it's weird to say that. It's like, I guess if you don't understand science, it makes sense as a science, right? Like back in that day, we're like, well, that 1 and 1 is 2, so how your brain is shaped would probably mean how you are. It's just funny that they just seem to have run with it. Yeah. There was no real testing, seemingly. Anyway. Another tangent.
I don't know. I mean,
not good though. I'm glad we're not doing
good.
phrenology anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with it. I kind of have a lump on the back of my head that I've always had. I don't even know what that means. No, okay. So one of the reasons that Victoria was so beloved by her subjects was her family values. She raised all of those children and did not live idly and excessively as compared to her royal ancestors. Like, think of her uncles, who were like, just sitting around drinking and drizzling and all things. She even wrote to her beloved Uncle Leopold, "They say no sovereign was ever loved more than I am. I am bold enough to say, and this because of our domestic home, the good example it presents."
Ooh.
Okay.
So yeah, she thinks highly of herself.
Yes. This was the general sentiment, but I find that whenever someone gets a little too cocky like that, things have a tendency to start going wrong. So in 1848, some guys named Karl Marx and Frederick Engels published something called the Communist Manifesto. At the same time, France was in the middle of a revolution. King Louis Philippe had been forced to abdicate the throne and fled to England, along with other family members, which were many of them mutual relatives of Albert's and Victoria's, because all the royals across all the countries are all related to each other.
Was that? And it's okay if you don't know the answer. I thought if that was the French Revolution, wouldn't he have been beheaded with Marie Antoinette?
He was in the midst. They were in the midst of a revolution. He fled, and then I think his nephew or something was like put in. I don't know.
It was Louis XIV with Marie Antoinette, and they were both beheaded publicly with guillotines.
Yeah, but I don't think that was then. I think that was in the 1700s. This is a revolution in the 1800s. Marie Antoinette was further back.
You're totally right.
They had more than one uprising in France.
Right. Yeah, okay, so this had to have been post-Napoleon.
It was post that Napoleon, but his grandson or nephew or another Napoleon was lurking around. I had to cut off some of my tangents. Oh, okay. So there was like another Napoleon something, Napoleon Bonaparte the Third or something like that.
In 5 years when I do my massive series on Napoleon, okay, and it's gonna happen.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
But I honestly, there's so much that I had to keep it tight a little bit. But of those fleeing French, there was Albert's cousin, Augustus, and Augustus's wife, and then there was a Victoire from Saxe-Coburg, where Victoria was from, and a cousin. There were a bunch of people, so they all fled to England, and it was due to the widening gap between the French bourgeoisie and the poor. It's kind of the same time this potato famine thing's happening, and the children are in the mines. This is happening. And Victoria took her peers in, quote, like these other royals from France. But initially, she actually thought they should have stayed to fight. She wrote about that in her diary for months. She was like, you should just stay. You should have stayed and fought. But as time grew on, she actually grew more appalled by these uprisings in 1848, which were called the Springtime of the Peoples. It was also occurring other places in Sicily, obviously in France, throughout the rest of Europe, Poland, Austrian Empire, Germany. There was a lot happening in Europe at this point, and in England, they were worried about a revolution because all this stuff was happening all over the place. Okay. So I'm going to quote from the book because this just kind of gives a good, example of what it sounded like. And honestly, this kind of reminds me a little bit of now with us. Okay. The reasons were disparate and mostly unconnected, but in many countries, it was the eruption of the working and middle classes grouped in unusual and temporary coalitions after decades of exponential change. So there was a lot happening, and it was like really unsettling, like we were just talking about with the Industrial Revolution. Yeah. They had endured a rise in basic living costs, crop failures, crowded cities, parliaments run by the idle and apathetic rich, and repressive monarchs. The voices of dissent grew louder and louder as they debated ideal forms of democracy, socialism, incremental liberalism, and republicanism. That's what makes me think of now.
Yeah, I was, as you were saying it, I was like, wow.
So as this rebellion has been going on, it's starting to make Victoria a little bit nervous, a little bit frightened even. She carried great disdain for the French in general. So we were just saying that. And after she died, some editors who read her journals and diaries actually censored some of her writings because her son was King Edward at the time, and they didn't want her journals about like writing about how much she hated the French like published.
Totally.
So they like censored that stuff so that her son wouldn't be embarrassed because like they were allies with the French. I think she just said what she thought. And I think a lot of times she thought something and would say it, and then she'd learn more and then be like, oh, wait, sorry. But, you know, people do that. We all do that. There were some events in England that were in support of the revolutions, but they were only weak and like mildly destructive. For example, a mob broke the window of the Duchess's, her mother's apartment, and threatened to break into Buckingham Palace, but numerous guards deterred them. So they were like, rabble, rabble. And then the guards were like, no. And they were like, yeah, right. Okay, bye. On March 1848, Victoria gave birth to her fourth daughter and sixth child, Louise Caroline Alberta. Albert, Alberta, there was a lot of, Victoria, there were a lot of naming after yourself.
A lot of original names going on.
Just days after that, the family was forced to leave London for safety from a group called the Chartists, who were attempting to gain more traction to help the working class, and they were planning to have a huge meeting of what was supposed to be 500,000 people to present a petition that was allegedly contained more than 5 million signatures. And the whole thing was a bust. Like, they got all ready and they like deputized like 100,000 like Londoners to help prevent mayhem during this whole meeting that was supposed to happen, but only a few people showed up. And then when they got the petition, they looked at it and there were tons of forged names on there. There were not 5 million names on there, like, because some of the names on there were Queen Victoria. Like, nobody thought that this would be noticed.
It reminds me of the Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah, a little bit.
Watch, it'll be millions of us, and it was like 10 people in front of a building at a time.
Yeah. I mean, it was a bust, but it was still a little bit scary for Victoria and Albert, and she was thrilled that this whole thing kind of failed. Even so, Albert, being the smart guy that he was, actually did a little follow-up. He's like, okay, well, what are they so upset about? And he discovered that a bunch of people in London were out of work due to government budget cuts, which is funny because he like slashed the salaries of the staff. But anyway, he asked Prime Minister Russell to figure out ways to create some more jobs and reminded the Prime Minister that the government was obliged to help the working class in times of distress. But only in England, not in Ireland.
Oh, of course not, because the Irish don't count.
Nope.
Remember? No real person involved.
No, yeah.
That's all of Ireland, according to the monarch in England.
So these European uprisings didn't actually take hold in England, but that didn't mean that Victoria and Albert weren't on edge. One time a man ran up to Victoria's carriage one night on her way home from the opera, and she was shaken for days.
Oh no, by a man running up to her?
Well, they caught him. I don't know what he was going to do. I mean, she had a lot of assassination attempts and she had a lot of stalkers. So like, the work also piled up. They received, it said 28,000 dispatches related to these revolutions and trade impacts and things like that in 1848 alone, which needed responses. And so Victoria and Albert worked together to like respond to all these people from all over Europe were writing them letters and stuff like that. So they worked together to respond to these, I don't know, requests or commentary or whatever it was. Also in 1848, we're getting back to Ireland, the potato crop had failed again, kept failing. People were literally starving to death. The British government was so afraid of an uprising that they allowed people to be arrested without warrants.
Dang.
Victoria harshly believed that the Irish should be, quote, crushed rather than allowed to have an uprising. The population went from 8 million to about 6.5 million in 5 years. There was extreme prejudice against the Irish and a belief that God disapproved of their defects of character. Victoria had been called the famine queen, despite the fact that she actually made the single largest donation to the Irish famine relief fund ever, but she was criticized because it wasn't enough.
It wasn't when 2.5 million people died in 5 years.
It's not solely her responsibility. It's not only her responsibility to resolve all of this too, but still, it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
It's not, but it's like, as we previously stated, it's like well, but if there was enough food being produced in Ireland at the time and the British Empire was what it was, it's like you probably could have reallocated your resources and so many millions of people probably could have lived.
I know. I mean, she published letters asking people to donate and doing stuff, and like people said she could have done more. So she was doing something. She wasn't just sitting there completely not doing anything, but in the end, Ireland did not revolt. And the book says it was probably because they were just too hungry.
Yeah.
The uprisings in Europe ended by the end of 1848. People still loved the queen and the government was strong. I mean, it was taking food from the poor. And this time, this is fun too. They were sending the dissenters off to Australia.
Of course.
That helped.
Oh, and by the way, if anybody is curious about why the potatoes were failing, there was a blight that was going on in the potatoes. And basically there was too much moisture in the soil and it was rotting the potatoes.
It was like raining more, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
it was a lot more moisture than it needed to be. And normally Ireland has great soil for potatoes, but they can't have too much moisture. They're literally the potatoes are the roots of the entire thing. So it's if there's too much water in the soil, then they'll literally absorb into the roots and rot them. So what was normally, and laugh all you want to. It was maybe
an El Nino.
Something like that. People say that it was some type of weather pattern that was happening. But for anybody that giggles and it's like the Irish and potatoes, it's like, no, it's Asian cultures and rice. That was literally the cornerstone of so much of their just sustenance, just their ability to survive is the calories that came from these potatoes. So yeah, that's why they're so synonymous with the Irish and why this was such a huge deal. It would be like if Japan was like, yeah, we got a rice blight.
We can't have
rice. Imagine Japan without rice, or China without rice, or Vietnam without rice. Like it's just.
I mean, we're imagining a little bit of Ukraine without grain.
It's true, and so yeah.
Well, we could digress. So, meanwhile, during all of this, Albert continued to work on behalf of the working class. He chaired a meeting in 1848 of the Society for the Society for Improving the Condition of the Working Classes.
Okay.
He came up with a 4-principle plan: education for children with practical training in industry, industrial revolution, good idea, housing improvement, land grants with cottages, not just land, but something to live in. And he established some banks that had like savings options and things like that.
Cool.
So he was thinking ahead.
This is Albert, right?
Yeah. The 1840s ended, in addition to all of that, with quite a bit of sadness for Victoria and Albert. Anson died in November 1849 at just 37 years old.
Oh.
Victoria's aunt, Queen Adelaide, do you remember her? She was in the earlier episode. She had been married to Victoria's uncle. And she died in December of 1849.
Oh.
In June of 1850, Robert Peel died of a rather gruesome horseback riding accident. And Albert was devastated because Peel had actually become a bit of a surrogate father to him.
Oh.
In July of 1840, Victoria's uncle, the Duke of Cambridge, died. So he was one of the ones after her in line for the throne before she became the sovereign. Then the French king in exile, Louis Philippe, he died. The Uncle Leopold's wife, Louise, died in October. That hit Victoria really, really hard. It was her Aunt Louise.
Jeez.
And while Albert and Victoria were dealt blow after blow in the 1840s, the early 1850s did begin looking up. We're going to move forward to something a little more positive and happy.
Okay.
May 1st, 1851, Victoria and Albert were on their way to the Great Exhibition.
The Great Exhibition,
which some might call Albert's greatest achievement. It was held in Hyde Park in the Crystal Palace, which was made of 1 million square feet of glass, built by 2,000 workers in just over 7 months. It was the brainchild of a gardener named Joseph Paxton, and what I understand is they needed a place to hold this great exhibition, so people were coming up with ideas, and this guy came up with this idea.
I think I've seen pictures of the Crystal Palace.
Yes, I will skip ahead and tell you that it burned down in 1936. They moved it, and then it ended up burning down. But yes,
they didn't rebuild it?
I mean, it was like the World's Fair kind of. And so they had this thing built and then they put it up somewhere else because they had to get it out of Hyde Park in London. It was in the middle of Hyde Park.
Okay.
And then once it burned down, they didn't build it again because there wasn't going to be another great exhibition.
I could have sworn then maybe there's like some other big greenhouse that I've seen.
There
in
may
the
be
UK.
something else, but that specific Crystal Palace was not rebuilt that I'm aware of.
Okay.
So Albert oversaw the planning of the Great Exhibition. There was a lot of opposition to the event. People said there would be mayhem and rapes and thefts, and women would be neglecting their housework.
Always.
Rapes to women neglecting their
housework. It's just
housework.
like anytime this, whatever. Yeah.
Everybody's got to hate on stuff.
Right.
In the end, Albert pulled it off, though. And the Royal Commission said that, quote, without Albert, the whole thing would fall to pieces. Victoria was so proud of Albert. She thought this exhibition would finally give him the recognition he deserved for his brilliance and devotion to England. He didn't have she tried to make him be the king, prince consort, or the queen consort instead. Like, nobody would give him like a real royal rank. And so she was like, he's doing a lot of stuff, people like love him. And so this was kind of the thing that she thought would put him on the map. Victoria called the exhibition a peace festival. It was unique because half of the space was reserved for foreign countries to showcase global unity, but also it showcased the British Empire's supreme power. It was
kind of cool.
I know, it was cool. I mean, I like want there to be one now.
Totally.
Because it's gonna be some good stuff in a second. It was so big, it would take someone 24 days to see everything.
Dang.
It lasted 5.5 months, and 6 million people attended.
Wow.
I'm going to read a list of some of the exhibits on display, but this is not comprehensive. There were whale teeth and elephant tusks. Okay.
Cool.
Sculptures, some in the nude.
Oh.
Buttonless shirts for bachelors. T-shirts?
Yeah.
Maybe. Fertilizer. A double piano, which Victoria thought looked, quote, ludicrous because of 2 people playing on each end.
Oh, okay. Like dueling piano
yeah,
style.
but like one big piano.
Yeah, like Elton John and Billy Joel.
I guess so, yes. Machines to spin cotton, machines to fold paper, and machines to stir chocolate.
Was that the cotton gin?
They didn't say the cotton gin, but I don't know. It might
was
have
the
been
1800s. I can't remember when.
It might
though.
have been a precursor. Yeah, I don't remember. My history is like so bad.
There's so many little teeny things.
I know,
Who knows when
there's
the
tiny
cotton gin
things.
was invented? I can't remember.
I feel like I did know that though when I was younger.
Well, sure, in 4th grade when you got tested on it.
Oh man. Among other things, there were flowers made from human hair.
Ugh.
A carriage drawn by kites that was called a char-volant.
I mean, that's radical.
I thought it was cool. There was a mechanism. I know what's coming, so I had to go, a mechanism to draw blood via mechanical leech. So they hadn't given up on bleeding people at this point, so they made a mechanical leech.
Mechanical leech, okay.
Okay, this is the best part. In the American area of the exhibit, there were a few things that I thought really screamed Murica. Oh my God. Reclining chairs.
Hell yeah.
And the Colt revolver.
Now you can shoot somebody more easily while you're having a sit.
Yeah, put your feet up and shoot someone for a while.
I was waiting for and then America debuted the cheeseburger.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like, oh, whoa.
Well, needless to say, Victoria loved it all. She specifically loved the machine section, and she had experts teach her how the devices worked. She saw the electric telegraph for the first time, which she called truly marvelous. Though through practical learning, science became more interesting to her, unlike when Albert would talk to her about it theoretically. So she was just like a person that needed to see how things worked. And also that kind of makes sense. Like, she saw a person who came in who had a problem. She heard about people in a country that had a problem, and that was like not real for her. So I'm getting a sense of her a little bit more. Victoria visited the exhibition 40 times while it was open.
Cool.
By contrast, Charles Dickens wasn't so convinced. I quote, he said, "I find I am used up by the exhibition. I don't say there's nothing in it. There's too much. I have only been twice. So many things bewildered me. It's a dreadful thing to be obliged to be false. But when anyone says, 'Have you seen?' I say yes, because if I don't, he'll explain, and I can't bear that."
Oh my gosh.
I should have had you read that in your accent.
No, it's okay. I'm both laughing because it's a silly thing to say, but I'm also kind of going like, I feel you there, dude. Like
Sometimes
the amount
it's
of
like
times that
overwhelm.
the amount of times you just kind of go like, if somebody says, "Oh, have you heard about this?"
Oh, yeah.
Even if you haven't,
I know
you just
everything
go,
about it.
"Oh yeah, it's great," because you don't want to deal with the explanation that's about to come your way. You know?
Yep.
I feel that.
It made me chuckle. Overall, the exhibition was an example of the speed at which technology was progressing in the Industrial Revolution. It grossed about £200,000, and Albert invested this money in warehouses, machinery, manufacturing, and the arts. Some profits actually helped launch the Victoria and Albert Museum, and some others that are still open today. And museums in London are free to visit if you're ever there.
Is that are all of them are?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And you said there's a Albert and Victoria Museum?
Yes,
Victoria and Albert.
Victoria
Is
and
that
Albert.
still there?
I think so. I looked it up.
Okay, that would be.
Or I looked up a bunch of the museums, and I think that one was still there.
Now I'm interested in that one.
And I did mention, unfortunately, the Crystal Palace, it was moved and then it was destroyed by fire in 1936.
Yes.
Okay, this is good. A couple years later, Victoria gave birth again to Leopold. He was born in April of 1853. Leopold was sickly, and it was actually because he had a genetic blood clotting condition called hemophilia that has affected many royals.
It's like the Tsar's kid, Anastasia's brother.
Yeah, there's yes, it is genetic, and actually in the book I've got this family tree, and they list which males. They put an asterisk next to the male that was hemophiliatic, I don't know, whatever, had it. And then they show the female carriers, because the women sometimes carried the gene.
Interesting.
Anyway, great thing about when Leopold was born. Victoria was administered chloroform for the birth.
Okay.
She had given birth to all those children with no pain medication at all. And this first time she got chloroform, she described it as soothing, quieting, and delightful beyond measure. And because of her example, women began for the first time to try pain relief. It had actually been around for a couple years, but this doctor, Dr. Simpson, said, "Here's some chloroform, try it." And so it became more and more, more in vogue to use pain medication during birth. Even though some doctors said it could make the birthing mother become sexually aroused, and then that they would try and seduce their doctors.
Okay.
That sounds ridiculous. Here's another ridiculous one. Priests said it was wicked to try and avoid the consequence of original sin. I mean, people...
Leave it to the religious folks to always take away something good.
People have to have babies for the human race to not die.
Which...
Birthing a child is not the consequence of original sin. It's like literally needed for humans to exist.
Yeah. I also, this reminds me, I recently learned this. I'm sure you already know this because I feel like I'm way out of the loop on this. But up until like the 60s or 70s, when women would give birth, they would literally, especially in America, I'm sure most first world countries,
they put them under.
Chain them down.
Oh, no. There's another thing that happened, too.
Yes. So, like, my grandma, I learned this. She had 3 kids, my mom, and then the other, Aunt Carol and Uncle Ed. And all 3 of them, she says she doesn't remember the birth at all. Mm-hmm. Because she was literally strapped down, wrists and ankles, and then given a drug that was, like, literally, she just wiped out. She was just gone. And she said that like everybody else said that, oh, no, when you're giving birth, you're giving birth. Like you're not passed out and there's just a baby sliding out there. It's like, most of our grandmothers, let's just say, don't remember giving birth, and they were just chained down to a hospital slab or whatever as they were screaming in pain, but they don't remember any of it. I didn't
know that. I did know that you were put under, but I didn't know about the chaining down.
That's why they would chain you down. It's because it was literally one of those situations of like you still went through it. It's not like surgery where you were just under. It was like
See, I thought it was like you were under. I wonder if there were also different phases of this too.
Oh, I'm sure there were, and I'm sure this was like from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. They figured out this new drug that was the best, and then that's why this whole thing happened. But this feels like this was the beginning of that.
I don't know. It didn't seem like she was out. It seemed like she was relaxed.
Like really high.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know that chloroform is what they use in like all the spy movies to like take people down, but I'm sure that there's doses too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, fair.
Well, at the same time, Albert had been working himself ragged, and photos of him at the time show it. They were 10 years into their marriage at this point, and there was a bit of a strain. Victoria resented having the 8 children she'd had so far, especially the physical toll it took on her. She resented Albert that this burden was not on him. She had a habit of losing her temper. Albert couldn't really help because, as the book puts it, if he analyzed her complaints, she got angry. If he ignored them, she felt insulted. If he left the room, she would follow. He did not understand hormones. And while Victoria's diaries show that she was grateful that he was so patient and, again, generally happy in their marriage and spent a ton of time like talking together and enjoying each other's company, she'd still become frustrated with his recommendations of using reason to overcome her combustibles. Just calm down, Victoria.
That is, by the way, for all husbands out there, that is a lesson you still need to learn continuously. Most of the time your significant other isn't looking for a solution. They're just looking for somebody to talk to and listen.
Literally what I say. Really all she wanted to do was be listened to and held.
This is life advice from the show Parks and Recreation. There's a point where Ann Perkins is pregnant and Chris Traeger keeps trying to like solve her problems. Mm-hmm. And all his friends say, dude, we're going to give you advice. This is all you have to do is just say, that sucks.
Yep.
And they go, he's like, really? So he talks to Ann. She's like, oh, my ankles are swollen. That sucks. And she's like, thank you. It does suck. And then problem solved.
Problem solved.
She doesn't want an answer. She doesn't want a solution. She just wants you to go, yeah, dude, that really sucks.
That's literally what Victoria wanted.
I've taken this lesson to heart.
Yep. Okay, so we are almost done, but there is one last thing I want to wrap up. We haven't heard about Conroy in a while because, he was banished from court by Victoria after she ascended in 1831 to the throne. He actually stayed on the Duchess's payroll for a few years after Victoria became queen. And he was restricted to the Duchess's apartments in Buckingham Palace, and then ultimately elsewhere when she moved. But they were far away from Victoria in the palace, so he didn't ever see her. Lord Melbourne actually took care of John Conroy kind of financially. He made him a baron and he gave him a pension of £3,000 annually because of his service to the crown or whatever.
That's nice.
The Duke of Wellington finally convinced Conroy to move out a couple years later, and he moved his family, 3 sons and 2 daughters, to the countryside where he studied agriculture and became a farmer, of all things.
Okay.
He used new farming techniques, eventually winning a medal in 1852 for breeder and exhibitor of the best pen of fat pigs.
Hey, good for you, buddy.
From the Royal Agricultural Society of England. He died on March 2nd, 1854, which is why I bring it up now, because that's about where we are in our timeline. After he died, there was an investigation that confirmed he had indeed swindled the Duchess out of a ton of money, and she eventually acknowledged it. So good. No, this is Conroy.
Oh, Conroy. Sorry.
Conroy.
Wrong one.
Good riddance, Conroy. So with that, we will end for the day.
Ooh, my stomach just growled.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting hungry too. This is a long one. I told you we had a lot to cover. But yeah.
Wow. That is a saga. And
it is a saga.
9 children later, right?
Yeah, I think there's one left coming.
Still one.
But I think I talked about 7 of 9 of them in this one being born. So.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, that is what's happening. We're in the early 1850s, and we will pick up there next time.
Well, I have to say I'm a little disappointed so far in Queen Victoria's handling of the Irish famine, the potato blight. That is, obviously more Captain Hindsight isms, but it just seems like her being like, the Irish need to be crushed. We need to put them into it. It's just like, oh, dude, that's a misstep right there.
I almost left some of this stuff out, like even some of the Albert stuff, and I was like, no, this is what happened.
This is what it is, man. You gotta.
I know. I felt
share
bad. I felt bad though.
No, it's like when I was just going through Mabel. It's like there was many a thing that I was like,
with her friend, her gay friend in Italy.
Yeah, and especially because now that we've been to Taos and everything, it's like it's a delicate situation because there are many people out there that love this person, that cherish this person, and I'm sure
have no idea about that thing. I know, but also the thing that's different is I'm not saying that one man versus millions is necessarily, but it was one man and this was millions.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The scale with which Victoria's decision making could affect people was much broader than that of Mabel's.
Yes, this is very, very true. And I think that's why it makes me the saddest to hear Queen Victoria say that kind of stuff, where it's like, I don't think you're a bad person. It doesn't seem like anyways. And it seems like Albert's an okay guy for the most part, too. And so
but also then he kind of like dismisses your best favorite person. Like, I don't know. I mean, again, we've said this before. People are complex. Lives are long. There's just... I don't know. You got to take it with a grain of salt. We have hindsight now. There's a lot. I don't even know. And the other thing is that we are so. It's making me think of in Men in Black. Oh, I want to say the quote right.
Which I have Men in Black on my shirt today.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, look. Here you go. Over there. Man in Black.
Oh my gosh.
There he is. And the Mothman.
Yeah, you've got a lot of, what is this, like, conspiracy shirt?
No, this is a Last Podcast shirt.
Oh, okay.
They're my fave. Them boys.
Okay, so basically, I want the line. It's when Tommy Lee Jones is talking to Will Smith, and he's like, the Men in Black are real, aliens are real, and he goes, 1,000 years ago, everyone knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, they knew the Earth was flat. 15 minutes ago, you knew humans were alone on it. Imagine what you'll know tomorrow.
There you go.
So I don't know. It's a sign of the times. I'm not saying it was right, but
it's fair.
People didn't even think Victoria should be the queen. Sign of the times. It wasn't right.
Have you seen that they're like there's a new meme that's going around of Tommy Lee Jones from Men in Black?
No.
And so it's when he's first trying to recruit him, and Will Smith goes, "Is it worth it?" And Tommy Lee Jones is walking away, and he goes, "Oh, it's worth it
if you're strong enough."
If you're strong enough. And
can you tell that I'm a child of the 90s that I knew what he was going to say?
People are reusing this for a bunch of things. And so my favorite one recently is it's like they superimposed him walking away like on a suburban lawn, and he's walking towards a car. And the caption is it really worth ditching DoorDash to go and pick up your food? He's like, "Oh, it's worth it. If you're strong enough." I was like, oh, damn, I feel that.
Oh my gosh. I love that movie so much. That's definitely my top 5.
Really? Men in Black?
Yes. Okay, so we got to wrap up. This is probably the longest
whatever.
episode
People they can leave the episode if they're done.
We've ever recorded. Yeah, I mean, Jurassic Park's obviously my number 1.
Oh, that's not surprising to me at all.
I love Independence Day.
Independence Day is fun, sure.
Obviously, Men in Black. We've just said that. And then I'd say, if we were just going to say put movies on that are just going to make me happy.
Yeah.
Mean Girls, Pirates of the Caribbean, Black Pearl.
We literally watched that 2 nights ago.
It's so good.
We tossed it on. It was, and as we were painting these, Kat got these little ceramic sugar skulls.
Okay.
And we've been painting them together.
Uh-huh.
And we'll just throw on a random something or other. And that was the one the other night. It was like Black Pearl.
They brought it back because they're releasing a bunch of movies in theaters that were that came out so many years ago right now, and we went and saw Pirates of the Caribbean in June.
Maybe it's just that I've been watching movies for the past 15 years and they've gone downhill, but dude, Black Pearl was on in the background, and I kept, like, throughout the movie, things would happen, and I would turn to Kat and go, this movie is written so much better than it has any right to be.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of cleverness in that movie.
On a ride?
Literally a theme park ride. But I'm talking about, like, think about, like, the amount of detail in that movie is just like, oh my God, okay, so you've got Johnny Depp, who's got the compass that doesn't point north.
Yes.
And he's got the single shot that was left for him to kill himself on the island, but he's saving it to kill Barbossa. Okay, already awesome. And then you've got the Spanish treasure from Cortez that they all steal, and there's a curse upon it, and the curse does
it is an excellent film.
All fits. I was like, dude, this has no business being written this well. It's really, really, really well written.
It is a great film.
Really well written.
It holds up. Well, I mean, it's historical, so it's not like you have to compare it. It's just compared to itself. But it holds up. I remember, it's interesting because I think I said something about Jurassic Park and how they used animatronics. And so that's like the CGI, like I don't even think there's much CGI, if any.
There is some, but it's, yeah.
There's a little bit, but like the way they did it it holds up.
It does.
And I feel like personally Independence Day holds up. Like
Agreed.
I feel like some of those
mostly
movies,
practical effects.
They used really, really good special effects. I mean, I think Men in Black does too. I just feel like when you watch those movies, you're not like
Men in Black, they do a lot of CGI. That was kind of, to me, that was one of the first.
I was saying it just the way it does, the way they did it, it holds up. Like it's campy, but it's like it's well written. I mean, the lines in Men in Black are great too. He's like, okay, Slick. He's like, don't call me Squirt. Like, whatever.
I will admit, I do not love Men in Black the way that you do.
I love it.
I like it. I even when it came out initially.
You watched it?
I mean, it couldn't have been more than 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
And no, and I'm not saying it's bad. It's just I remember even when it came out as a kid, I remember it just not being what I thought it was going to be.
Oh, well.
And maybe that's my fault. But yeah. Whatever. Now we're talking about movie special effects.
Yeah, I think we should wrap up.
Really far off the plot here.
I think we should wrap up.
Well, I guess we'll wrap up like we always do and say thanks for listening. As always, corrections are welcomed if anybody finds them. We've been talking so much about British politics and stuff. If anybody has just like a little one-pager, I've been
something
asking
about
for that
like
for
vote
episodes.
of no confidence and things like that. I was
and
sort
how
of
the
looking
prime
at it.
ministerships worked and work now. I'd be very curious about. So, anyways, if anybody has any corrections, they've heard us and just went, "No, that's dead wrong, dude." The Biographers Podcast at gmail.com. You can find all our sources on our website, thebiographerspodcast.com. And then beyond that, follow us on the socials. We got the Insta, we got TikTok now. It's doing okay. We're seeing some traction there.
TikTok.
And then I guess that's it. I don't know. Is anything else, Aubrey?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
Tune in next time. Like and subscribe.
Oh yeah, like it. Oh yeah, we have to keep saying that.
Yeah, we forget to say
I'm going to say that I hate it probably every single time, but
it helps.
It does help, and the more people that follow and listen, the more quickly that we can do this. Not every 2 weeks, but every 1 week.
We could do
That's
it better.
my goal.
We can do it better.
I think we're off to a good start.
I mean, we're doing really good. I think.
Start.
I mean, what did Queen Victoria say? I mean, obviously, no one has ever loved a podcast as much as us.
Last week, week and a half ago, we passed 1,000 streams.
That was cool.
And we've been doing this for 3 months, and that's, for me, a really big deal. I was fully expecting to get 1,000 streams in 2 years. So to have that done in 3 months, I was very, very proud of that. And that's thanks to all of you fine and lovely folks out there.
Thanks.
So keep that going. And then I also recently learned, I don't know if you actually want to do this, Aubrey, but one of my friends told me that on TikTok, if we get to 1,000 followers, we can live stream. So we could technically live stream our recording session if we wanted to.
Oh my God, that would give me a lot of anxiety, but sure.
Yeah, we just wouldn't respond to anybody. I would just set it up over in the corner and then just be like, cool, it's going. And if anyone wants to watch, cool. If not, don't care. But
yeah,
that's optional.
Or we can do that.
Okay, well, thanks, everybody, and we will hopefully talk to you next time.
Yeah, next time.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Biographers. For more information, please visit thebiographerspodcast.com.